Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
Switched it up and messed both of us up.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what happened just there? I totally lost track of what you were doing.
And that voice you've heard, along with the sound effects, comes to us none other than our man in Brooklyn, one agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram.
What's up, everybody?
Right here, big.
Nice. And you can find this here podcast on the Cold Souls Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
Typing and talking not working. So you can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple, iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Souls Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. You can find us recording every Thursday night, same bat time, same bat channel, something like that, on the YouTube channel of the Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/the Kliq Nation. And twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles. So yeah, folks, another week, as some people all call it. Well, actually, we can't call it that because it's Thursday. I was about to say, we have now passed another Obi Wednesday, but for the last time. And we're going to start off with the recap of part 6 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I weirdly kind of hate that they don't have actual titles. They're just like part. It's kind of weird, but I get it. Like, it's like a Star Wars naming convention. Sure, keep it going. So yeah. So we leave off with the cargo ship being chased by Vader and crew. Not unlike what happens in episode 4, New Hope. The only difference is they decided to swerve, as opposed to what the I guess that was Home One, I can't remember, as opposed to what the ship in A New Hope did not do, and just sat there and just take fire.
Mm-hmm.
But then, to be fair, it is also a smaller ship, so, but nevertheless they're trying to fix their hyperdrive, but it's going to take some time, while Vader in the big Star Destroyer is catching up to them rapidly. Obi-Wan knows this and tries to buy them some time, and it's like, look, I gotta go. He wants me. This kind of stuff. And actually, I should say, I guess before we go any further, spoilers. We're not gonna spoil the whole thing, because I'm not gonna go line by line of this, but there might be some spoiler things we do end up saying in this recap. So
Yeah, spoilers are incoming, folks. I'll ring the bell just to be safe, but spoilers for Obi-Wan Episode 6 and Miss Marvel Episode 3 incoming in 3, 2, 1, even though we already started.
Yeah. So yeah. Obi-Wan, like I said, tried to say goodbye to everything. Leia's not having it. But she eventually relents to do so, to kind of buy them some time. Rokan's like, hey, look, you don't have to do this, but, you know, hey, I understand you want to, because it's you and him and this and the other. Obi-Wan gives, which is, I thought this was kind of funny. Obi-Wan gives Leia a present that apparently comes in handy in her adult life. Which also kind of didn't make any sense in a way. So I don't know if you caught that. So he gives. Oh wait, was that later?
Yeah,
No.
that's pretty much later.
Wait, I thought he did that. I thought he did
No,
that before he left.
gift. He returns to show that he was alive, basically.
Right.
At the end.
Right. But I thought he did give it. We might be thinking of two different things. He did give her something before he left because there was a joke about. I wasn't even a joke. He was like, "It was empty."
Yeah.
Yeah. She was like, "It's empty," and Obi-Wan's like, "I'm not gonna give you a blaster, Leia." Just like, "Come on, kid, what's up?" But apparently that was Tala's holster that he gave him, and I'm sitting here like, Tala got blown up, so that should have gotten blown up with her if it was on her person. Unless that's some heavy grade leather or something, what's going on to be able to go unscathed at a point blank thermal detonator.
Hard to say.
Yeah, so that part kind of stuck with me for a second. That's the only reason why I'm bringing it up now. It was like, that's kind of weird. But regardless, Obi-Wan gets in the dropship and kind of heads off Vader. Vader's like, "We're going after him," and the Grand Inquisitor's like, "We got to go after these folks. Cause these are the people we need to be after." And of course, Vader is kind of single-minded, so of course they go off, which also kind of which was weird to me because like, well, they have other ships. They could just send one after one and they could split up. I'm pretty sure Star Destroyer has, more than just TIE fighters. They have long range shuttles. They could, they could have done something, They like the send a couple of ties after them.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that. I'm like, wait, so there are no fighters on these things right now?
No, there has to be.
That's
There's
exactly
no way in the
what I was
world.
thinking.
Yeah.
I was like, so what are they like not fueled up? What's going on?
Right.
But they're just so happy to be like, it's a lot like in the whatchamacallit, the sequels.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like big ship chasing smaller ship, but smaller ship is just far enough away where it's not worth it to send fighters,
right?
Or just moving fast enough so that they can't send fighters.
Well, that can't be because TIE fighters are pretty fast, so they could have definitely.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah. For some odd reason, they didn't send any fighters after him. But then again, they weren't gonna just do it, and Vader didn't say anything. Obviously, they would have caught his wrath if they had. Right. So that part I get, but it still didn't make any kind of sense. Regardless. Sure. Regardless, they chase after Obi-Wan just as predictably, and they end up going to some planet which I don't think we ever get any name of, and the rest of the folks get away. And then what ends up being and then another thing that was weird to me, because I think this is when we cut to Tatooine, and somehow Reva, who's still nursing a lightsaber to the gut somehow, but then again, I guess the Grand Inquisitor kind of called that one. Made her way to Tatooine before any of them, and is going after Luke because of the message that was dropped by old dude in the last episode. So she's going after them. Vader's going after Obi-Wan, and excuse me. Then it cuts back to Obi-Wan and Vader on this planet. They both land and they start this fight, which is started to be a great fight. Vader gets the upper hand. Obi-Wan gets his Spider-Man / Secret Wars moment. I would go so far as to say Spider-Man in this particular case. Because he's kind of left. I sincerely thought there was going to be a now I have the high ground thing going on, but that didn't apparently happen.
Right.
But then we cut back to Tatooine, where Reva is on the Skywalker farm. Aunt Beru's like, "Look, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready," because apparently once Owen found out that she was coming, it was like, "Look, we got to go," or something like that, and she just had some guns at the ready, which sad in a way because it doesn't help him later on when they meet with other Imperial problems later on. But hey,
well, they were a lot older at that point.
That is also true, but.
Just as a quick aside, I was very happy to see the actress that portrays Beru get some shine because she actually went through a lot of, crap in real life in between her portrayal of Beru in the prequels and now.
Oh, yeah.
with that with that cult and all that stuff, getting sucked into that cult, and luckily for her, getting out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So luckily for her, she's had the chance to reprise this role, and it was nice to see her be the one who's like, "Yo, I'm getting the strap
Right.
and digging it out of the wall." I was like, "Yo, you go, Baru, you
Right.
go."
That's what I'm saying. Like, oh, like Baru's like, no, like, stay ready. we stay ready. We got to get ready.
I was like, "Yo, I'm so happy they gave Baru that particular moment."
Mm-hmm. And no one's like, what? Okay. That was beautiful.
Yeah, so you know what? Like, good for that actress. Like,
Right.
I don't have her name at the ready, but I'm glad that she had that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Sorry. But yeah, so there was that, and Riva ends up on the farm. They told Luke, it's like, look, they told Luke not the truth, which I guess makes some sort of sense. Like, look, we got raiders coming, so you got to go hide if we tell you to go. But they don't tell her that, look, this is what lightsaber wielding woman coming after her. So he never gets to he never knows how much trouble he was actually in, apparently. But nevertheless, to their credit, Owen and Baru kind of hold off Riva, but then again, she was also pretty hurt, at that point. But still, they held it off pretty good, pretty well for non-force folks that with
For
nothing but
non-fighters,
guns.
period.
Right. I mean, farmers with
They're
guns.
Mr. Farmers.
Right. So they hold them off pretty good. Then we cut back again to Obi-Wan and Vader for the fight, which, like I said, pretty spectacular fight. Like I said, and Obi-Wan has his Spider-Man moment before rising up and turning the tide, which I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I won't go through all of them though. But part of it is like, okay, you could have just left. You could have just stayed there. Well, granted, you probably couldn't have just stayed there, but you probably could have just stayed there until Vader left, because he thought you were dead or dying, which is a pretty classic trope. It was like, just leave him for dead, not seeing whether he was actually dead or not, But it is what it is. But hey, he comes back up with a vengeance, turns the tables, turns the tide on Vader, and once again, as it happened to him, left him for dead. But of course had to, because that would be a very big plot hole if he just killed them right then and there. But there was also in the midst of that a moment of like Obi-Wan trying to come, I guess, trying to say he was sorry, and Anakin was like, wasn't you, it was me. So there's that. So anyway, that fight's done. Obi-Wan goes back to Tatooine, where Luke is being chased by Riva, and I guess the reason she went there, she couldn't do, so she ends up folding at the last minute. In other words, which I wasn't sure what to think of it, because I was like, okay, this could still go one or two ways, because as I have said before in this show, wasn't really sure whether she was going to make it out of this series, and for even then, I wasn't really sure whether she was or not. But apparently, she is now on the path of redemption.
I mean, where? That's the thing. Where are we going to see her next?
That's probably it's like I said last week, probably in the book. Because I can't see, even though I wouldn't mind seeing it, I can't see, or maybe she'll show up in Ahsoka. I doubt that, but yeah, I can't imagine anywhere live action that she shows up. So I'm thinking probably in the books somewhere. So at this point, the main Star Wars book is and then I take it back. She still could. I was about to say the main Star Wars book is in Empire territory, or shortly after Empire territory. So it's not like if she is still that around, then maybe, who's to say? But nevertheless, that's where we leave that. And then we have a reunion with at the end we have a reunion with Obi-Wan and Leia back on Alderaan, which was a nice touching moment because he gave a little backstory on her actual parentage, and I feel like she kind of sensed sensed something more than what he was actually saying. But who's to say? And also he dropped off Lola because Lola was she had given Obi-Wan Lola early on in the show. So yeah, and that's pretty much it. And then
I got the gifts backwards.
Huh?
I got the gifts backwards.
Right.
Or the things he gives her backwards because
Right.
he gives her the holster first and then brings back Lola.
Right. Who she actually promptly puts in the holster as opposed to a blaster at the time, which also kind of brings up something else. Like, what happened to Lola? Lola probably doesn't show up doesn't definitely show up anywhere that we know of. Definitely is not in the movie, so maybe it's probably once again in the books.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of those kids droids that you kind of outgrow.
Oh yeah, totally.
So that's likely what happens to Lola in the greater scheme of things. So
yeah, but I suspect, as we have seen in Star Wars, there aren't too many things like that don't end up. Oh, wait a minute.
What's that?
Oh, I just noticed. Oh, okay, never mind. It's not Star Wars related. The actress Moses Ingram, who plays Reva, is going to be in a movie with Natalie Portman, or in a series with Natalie Portman for Apple TV. I thought it was something Star Wars related. So, never mind.
On the next season of Ted Lasso.
I know, right?
I can't wait for the next season of Ted Lasso, folks.
Oh wait, I thought that has already started.
No, season 3, no.
Oh, but that's supposed to be soon, right?
Yeah, sometime later this year.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, good. Well, then I should probably save that 6 months of Apple TV that I have, before, just in case. Just in case I decide to go into that. Anyway, back to Obi-Wan. That's pretty much it. Like I said, Obi-Wan leaves off on leaves Alderaan after saying, hey, if you ever need me, if talking to Bail and Breha, if you ever need me again, you know where I am, which is, I guess, probably a nod to episode 4 at this point, because it doesn't seem like there's going to be another season of this show. And then he goes back to Tatooine and meets back up with Owen and Beru, and finally meets Luke, and he gets to say the thing at the end. I don't know if you noticed that. Huh? Oh wait, you're muted.
Of course I noticed, because it's like the one line that's become super famous because of how he was portrayed in the prequels and then in the resulting or in the follow-up animated series.
Yep.
Hello there.
There we go. Nice. But yeah, so
I got to regain on that one from on my end, but it's clear enough.
Right.
And,
oh yeah.
So we got that right at the end.
Yeah, we got that right at the end. The other thing we got right at the end, right after that, was like I said, Obi-Wan's pushing off to where I guess we find him at the beginning of episode 4, or he starts to move toward that direction, and he finally gets in contact, or finally is at peace enough to get in contact with his old master. Who being a little, not necessarily snippy is the wrong word, but he was like, okay, you being mighty jokey for a Force Ghost. But then again, I guess Yoda was too at some point.
He was like, "Yo, I've been here this whole time. You just
Right.
haven't been able to see me." I'm like, "Really, dude?"
Right. Which, I mean, but sure. Because, I mean, the whole thing in the beginning was like, you know, he was conflicted, and that was the whole reason why he couldn't commune enough to talk to him. And now he got to that point, because you kind of figured this point was coming. Like the only other time I figured would have happened was at the beginning of this episode when he was about to leave before he faced Vader, but I figured that would have been a waste if they had done that. So this makes sense. But so it ended on a nice note. Sorta. Like I said, we know where the story's going after this, and even though we're probably not going to get another season of this, I mean, it could happen, but that'd be kind of weird, I guess, because I can't imagine what else. Like, there's nothing but space and time, as we have seen with the books, if anything, for them to, you know, plug some other things in. But it doesn't feel like they'll probably do that with this. And you know what? That's fine, because like I said, I feel like this was a fairly decent story. Reva didn't die. I was happy about that. The stuff was still in place for what we know. There weren't, as far as I could tell, any major plot holes, you know, that didn't fix itself near the end. So all in all, it was a pretty good show, I thought.
Yeah, I liked it. I just we talked about this just before we went on the air. I felt like the duel, which is the highlight of the show, right? The highlight of the show, highlight of the series, highlight of this episode. The rematch duel between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, you know, basically both playing at the peak of their powers. You know, was epic. It was great. It was grand. It was choreographed very well. It didn't have that extraneous, to me at least, that extraneous, you know, martial arts that Darth Maul brings in Duel of the Fates, right?
Right.
You know, it's not extraneous because that's Darth Maul's style, right? I just felt like it was extraneous because we're not used to seeing it, and we really haven't seen anything similar to that since. Right? They haven't really employed any, you know, like gifted martial artists to, you know, portray other Jedi or Sith that way, right? So I felt like, you know, and Roddykat, you know, agrees with this particular point. I think that they definitely borrowed several elements from the Ahsoka Darth Vader duel at the end of, I want to say, season 2 of Star Wars Rebels.
Yes.
And it's called Twilight of the Apprentice.
Twilight of the Apprentice. Yeah. Okay.
Right. So, you know, there are a couple of key elements of that duel that get ported over into this live action version of a Jedi versus, Ahsoka makes a very big point of saying she is no Jedi in that duel, but basically Darth Vader against another Force user, and we see, you know, just a more than a few nods to that Rebels duel being played out on the live action screen here. You know, Roddykat, I think, is also correct when he mentions that there are nods to other elements of the prequel and the original trilogy movies that are nodded to, that are acknowledged during this duel as well.
Yeah. So, you know, they have you know, there's inspiration borrowed pretty heavily from stuff that does, heavily enough from stuff that's already come before this. So, you know, you could pretty much take, you know, part of one, part of the other, put them all together, you'd still be right. You know, we've definitely seen remnants of this fight before, specifically the certain part with the partial unmasking of Vader, or Vader unmasking, whatnot. Also, actually, there was something that well, actually, it was two things. There's one thing that kind of sticks with me, and the other one was like, okay, I see this is a nice little thing they put in. Like at the end of that fight, Obi-Wan calls Vader Darth, which was a thing he did in episode 4. which even then kind of sticks with me. It was like, wait, everybody, I know it's us in the real world that just call him Vader. You know, Darth is his title and Vader is his, you know, I guess is the name. But it was like, it was just weird. It was like, okay, you're addressing him as his Sith title. I get that. But it's still kind of weird to me. It was like, his name is Vader. Like, yes, Darth is his title, but like I said, it just plays back to when they meet again in episode 4. So when he did the same thing. So
I do have to admit though that I was definitely shocked that they mimicked that particular sequence from the Rebels duel.
Right.
Because I distinctly remember, and I rewatched that duel like via YouTube or via Disney Plus a couple of times just out of fun.
Right.
Because it's done so well, you know, between Ahsoka and Vader, right? And, you know, I watched this and I was just like, oh, that, you know, I was still profoundly and genuinely shocked when they pulled it off. I was like, oh, snap.
Right. So there was that. And also there was, I guess, on that front, there was a couple of things to note on that, which I had called to my attention. Like the fight with Ahsoka was on one side of his face, was on one side of his face. And the fight with Obi-Wan and this was on the other side of his face. But then the fight with Luke in Return of the Jedi, I think the whole thing came off, or at least more than half of it. So he pretty much was the one that ended up fully unmasking Vader at the end. So I thought it was a nice touch. People were kind of like, oh yeah, the people that were close to him got like one side or the other, but then his son was the one to kind of fully.
Well, he had the request. He got the request taken off.
Well, that too, but I mean, but like you said earlier, once the mask, once he threw the Emperor down the shaft, I think he was already kind of halfway there. So, but yeah, it was a nice touch for that. But the only thing, like I said, that still messes with me to this minute was the fact that. And granted, this is some Star Wars ass logic here, so I get it, and then we can move on. But we have seen people in the Star Wars universe get lightly brushed with a lightsaber and die. We've seen Qui-Gon get run through, and he dies. This we have seen twice in this particular show. 2 people get ran through with a lightsaber, and pretty much make it out. Although I think there was a point somebody made, I saw something that somebody made that apparently the race that the Grand Inquisitor is from has 2 stomachs. I don't know if that's true or not, but if that's the case, I guess it's like, well.
It's also heavily implied that Reva had been run through twice with the lightsaber. Once when she was a youngling, and once again later on by the same person.
Now, see, I thought about that, but I never thought that it was. I thought that was just her mind, kind of superimposing the two, and that part didn't happen.
It's hard, right? The thing is, it's hard to say,
right?
Because the way the action and the actor portrayed it made it look like they were run through,
right?
So it's hard, you know. It's off screen, but not off screen because it's just below our viewing level,
right? Because it was like, well, I guess could make sense because if you're again going back to what the Grand Inquisitor said at the beginning, like something about revenge being a good motivation to live. And I was like, okay.
And Bacta is a wonderful thing, apparently.
Yeah, but you have to get to it first, and I don't know when did she apparently get to any.
No idea.
You know, between where she was. Well, first of all, we do know that it takes a good while to if you're in a Bacta tank to kind of heal up to any length of to any length of quality, basically. So she had, if that was the case, she had time to do that and still had time to get to Tatooine before Obi-Wan, and however long that fight took. Or, you know, because apparently she was there while they were still in space. So that part was the part that got me. I was like, okay, she was motivated enough to kind of keep on going you know, presumably, maybe, possibly bleeding out. I don't know. Obviously, there's no blood in the Star Wars universe because of, you know, it's Disney Plus or whatever. It's Disney and Lucas both, but regardless. Anyway, it's too much harping on that too much. Just this a thing that kind of was weird to me. I'm like, okay, Grand Inquisitor and what he said makes sense, which you could translate into her. But then later on, when she kind of not necessarily lost the will, but she couldn't go through with what she was trying to do, you would think that would have been like, okay, and now I'm giving up the ghost or something. That's why I was like, well, maybe maybe this is where she just kind of ended here, but nope, that she doesn't. So, and I think it's somebody also pointed out, it was like, well, on Tatooine, you can kind of get a cybernetic stomach, because as we have seen in Boba Fett, with Fennec Shan, Thundercat will hook you up.
Right.
So, but regardless, like I said, that little nitpicks aside, I still think it was a great show. And I hope to actually see that character show up in something, preferably live action, but also in the books, you know, depending on where she ends up.
Right.
Because now it's got me curious. It's like, okay, so they set this up. She's the only quote unquote loose thing in the show. Loose end in this show, you know, that we don't know where she's gone or what she's been up to. So she's got to show up somewhere.
Right. You know, we might see a young Ice Cube also. So
I hope so. He was actually pretty good. I mean, they didn't give him a whole lot, but yeah, oh yeah, I guess that does count as another type, because there was a whole, hey, you're a great leader. I mean, you're a leader, and he was just getting started and stuff, which almost had me thinking like, oh, he's gonna die soon. You say something like that in the Star Wars universe, like that ship was going. I thought the ship was gonna get blown up. So, but wasn't the case. So yeah, I do hope we also see his character, him and his character,
Roken, I think it was.
Roken, yeah. Now, I feel like that would be a character that would probably show up in Ahsoka, because if he's still, you know, he's still basically doing the path thing. I could see Ahsoka and Sabine or whoever else showing up there at some point before going off to find Thrawn or whoever the case may be. I don't know. I'm speculating at this point. So, but yeah, hopefully we'll get to see both of them. And on that note, unless you got something else you want to bring forth on this Obi-Wan Kenobi bit, I think we can move on.
No, we are going to transition over to Ms. Marvel Episode 3. Again, the spoiler warning remains in effect, but now it's for Ms. Marvel Episode 3. We're going to be spoiling this, maybe not in its entirety, but we're going to be spoiling a lot of it, as well as spoiling lots of Marvel comic stuff, specifically Marvel comic stuff, and lots of MCU stuff as well.
Right. I'm sorry. One last thing before you go through that. There was a couple things I totally forgot. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. There was a couple of homages to some stuff that we did see in the comic books that happened at the end of this also. Because later with the Holster, she was getting dressed, remember, before she was going to meet Obi-Wan, even though she didn't know. She was dressed up in the Holster and a get-up that we see in her miniseries, which if you are watching the video version of the show, you will see right there. And again, spoilers for this. So she kind of gets dressed up in a proto version of something we see in the books, and we also see Obi-Wan in a get up at the end where we also saw in the books from Star Wars number 15. And if you're watching the video version, you can see the get up I'm talking about, minus the gaffy stick. But I do like how they kind of gave that homage to those fits of theirs. Anyway, that's it.
Alrighty, so as I said earlier, moving on to Ms. Marvel Episode 3. Spoilers for pretty much all things Marvel at this point. The third episode is titled Destined, and that is a big clue as to what we're going to touch on in this episode. So at the beginning, we have this weird flashback to British-occupied India in 1942, and we have what look to be grave robbers or archaeologists, it's hard to tell sometimes because it could be either or both. And what we find is that they have discovered the bangle that Kamala is using, and it turns out there is a second bangle that they are not able to find, but in the midst of this cavern that they're in collapsing, they need to get out and get moving, so they can't investigate any further.
Apparently, there was a 10 ring symbol in that.
Yeah, I was about to say, incidentally,
Huh.
I did not notice this.
I didn't either.
And thank you to Marvel.com's article of the Kamala Khan, the Ms. Marvel episode 3 recap, noting that the symbol of the 10 rings happens to be carved into the floor. How on earth would we see that?
Right.
But of course, that is a gigantic hint.
Yeah.
That is a gigantic hint as to where they might be going. Let's see here. So bottom line is the women that are depicted in this are Aisha, which is Kamala Khan's great-grandmother, and the mother of Kamran.
Right.
Because they've said they've softened it a little bit in the second episode of his with his name. So he's not Kamran, he's not Kamran, but just Kamran.
Right.
Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did, especially with Kamala saying it at the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
So Najma, I don't, it's hard to catch all of these names even with closed captioning.
Yeah.
So Najma is Kamran's mom, and she is the one that is left to explain and give a bunch of exposition as to who she is, where they come from, where their powers are, what the deal with their powers are. And it turns out that they call themselves the clan Destin, and that they are the supernatural jinn, DJINN. And guess what? I don't know if Roddykat is familiar with the clan Destin, but this is a very Marvel Comics concept.
So, funnily enough, I actually came across this last week about them. I didn't realize it. I don't know what I was even looking up, but yeah, I'm not like well versed on it, but I was just happening to be searching something last week and come across the clan Destin.
Right. I remember when they were introduced in the mid 90s, like early mid 90s. Alan Davis was doing the art, and I had no idea that they were, I think I read like the first appearance, and I don't think I ever picked up anything after that. I may own like the first issue or like the first preview issue. I think they had like an ash can, and I think that's what I own. But ultimately, I never, picked up on it. But I was surprised to read in like, the fandom article on the Jinn, like the Marvel fandom article, like basically the online handbook of the Marvel universe, that the clandestine were in fact written as, being based on or related heavily to this Jinn mythology. And I was like, oh, okay, so now I sort of understand some of the ideas and the concepts that Feige was looking to tap into by not making her an Inhuman. By making, like, he literally says, I think the I don't have the exact quote, but I'm paraphrasing here, that he made her powers in this show based on more her background as opposed to anything else.
Right.
And so that actually makes more sense. And I appreciate it a little bit more now. I still would rather have Lockjaw appear in this and, let there be a lot more Inhuman hijinks.
Right.
That would be my personal preference, though. But now I'm starting to understand.
Yeah, I get it also. But yeah, like you, I was like, yeah, I kind of wish there was a little more Inhuman stuff. But yeah, sure. Keep it going.
Right. So, so Kamala is basically floored by this whole thing. She's like, where are you people coming from? But the bottom line is Najma asks for Kamala's help to try to get home, right? They basically tell her that they need her help to be in her powers so that they can get home to the Jinn home dimension. And we're coming off of Kamran and Najma saving Kamala from damage control and the Stark drones at the end of the second episode. So Kamala's definitely feeling grateful and wants to help these people as best as she as much as she can. So ultimately, she leaves them with some information and some things to think about, and goes straight to Bruno. And apparently, well, not straight to Bruno, but apparently the next day she goes to see him, and Bruno also has a lot to talk about. And Kamala tries to explain what she is. She's not anything that she thought she was, or that we kind of hope she was, but she's something else. She says she's rather the stuff of her childhood nightmares, unquote. And so, since the clandestines need her help, she's going to need Bruno's help to help them out. But it turns out that Bruno has been reading lots of papers that are a little bit advanced for most people, because they're written by Dr. Eric Selvig of Thor infamy and fame, and even Avengers infamy and fame, about oh man, I wish I had a drop from the Beastie Boys Intergalactic, but basically, lots of transdimensional warping and whatnot. And so it seems like Bruno might know something and might be able to help. Meanwhile, Damage Control has decided to play the heavy, and they're trying to search the mosque that Kamala and her family use quite illegally. And Nakia is the quick one to say, "Hey, where's your warrant?" And she's able to defend the mosque, at least from this particular incursion by the authorities. We transition over to a Mendi party, which is basically like the pre-nuptial. It's like the prenup party. No, it's not the prenup party. Let me not put it that way. It's the celebration of the upcoming nuptials. I don't know how else to put that, but everyone's there, and they've flown in family from outside of Jersey City, and everyone's just talking. But it turns out that Bruno has come and dropped off a present for Kamala, and what she finds is a pretty cool gift. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a pretty cool gift. Let's see. Now we can skip that. Let's see.
Did you notice that? I thought this was a pretty fun part. But did you notice that Taisha's little brother had on the same outfit that Kamala's dad had on? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. In fact, yeah. If you look at that picture that's on the article, you can see it a little bit more clearly. But I think it was supposed to be that same get-up, probably taken up a little bit, obviously.
Gotcha. That's cool.
Yeah.
That is cool. So, basically we transition over to the actual wedding between Ami and Taisha. And of course, if it's a Marvel Universe wedding, things are not going to go according to plan. That's kind of the trope, folks. You bring people together for the wedding, but there's also going to be hijinks. Hijinks will ensue, and of course, the bad guys show up. And they're not bad guys initially, but basically the Jinn have had it with trying to wait for Kamala to figure out what she wants to do. So they're basically looking to take her by force and take her power by force. And it goes badly for everyone. Kamala does something, tried and true to get everyone out of the building. I won't spoil it, but when I say tried and true to get everyone out of the building and you see it, you'll understand what I mean.
Got to go with the classics.
Exactly. Meanwhile, Kamala's facing off against several members of the Jinn as they're chasing her around the wedding venue. And ultimately, Kamran does jump in to try to take Kamala's side, but he basically gets his butt handed to him during the fracas. Let's see here. Let's see here. All right. So they're able to make a break. Kamala and Bruno are able to safely make a break for it. The Jinn, the clandestines are taken out, and they're taken out by the Department of Damage Control because they happen to come in at the right or wrong time, depending on your perspective. Let's see. Nakia, unfortunately or fortunately, sees the exhibition of some of Kamala's powers, and we're about to expand the group of people who happen to know that Kamala has superpowers. Let's see here. Right. So basically, having to defend herself from accusations, which were on point, that she had done this thing to get everyone out of the building and the wedding venue. Kamala retires to bed and finds, and then her cell phone rings. And I love how video calling is de rigueur around the world, and everyone holds it up to their face, not knowing what they look like on the screen. And this is, in fact, Kamala's Nani, her grandmother, and her grandmother says that Kamala needs to come to Pakistan now, because she also saw the train that there's a train that has appeared to Kamala a couple of times in a vision that comes on when she puts on the bangle and taps into her power. So her grandmother also sees it, and ultimately we may be seeing Red Dagger sooner rather than later. And there's a spoiler for the Marvel Comics.
Maybe. Not just that, because she's her and her mom was specifically called to Karachi, which is definitely where she ends up going in the comics, and that is where she meets Red Dagger, which I doubt if they're gonna have time to do that one though, unless they do something like make Kamran Red Dagger, like kind of blend the two or something, but I doubt it.
We'll see. Yeah. We'll see, because at the end of the day, we don't really know if they're going to be confined to these 6 episodes or not.
Perhaps. I don't know. I feel like
we don't know.
Yeah, we don't. But know. I feel like history kind of has led us to the fact that we're probably going to see something in the Marvels, but it might not go this far as to going further into, or it might lend itself a little further into her backstory, but kind of adding a little something if they do that, but not like go the way this show is going,
No, I get it, because it did take them a while to really get into the backstory of Red Dagger in the comics,
right?
And it's worthwhile to do so. So it would be a shame to waste that on, a 10-minute sequence.
Right.
So, but you never know. You never know. But and otherwise, this is a pretty enjoyable episode.
Right.
And, getting to see the wedding sequence, the traditions, and the dancing was fun. I haven't been invited to an Indian wedding. I know lots of my friends have posted pictures of having been to Indian weddings. So, Pakistani weddings probably aren't all that different.
Mm-hmm.
not that they're exactly the same, obviously, because there's some Hindu traditions and there are going to be some Islamic traditions observed at each.
Right.
But it was interesting to see that portrayed on, I don't want to say network TV, but it's as close as it gets.
Yeah, pretty much. It was, I mean, I can't even say for lack of a better word, but it was definitely a Disneyized version.
Yeah.
So, so you got to take what you can get on that one. But nevertheless, but I did enjoy that part. Like I said, up until things kind of went down, it was a pretty good scene or series of scenes, I guess. It's kind of funny that one auntie that was hitting on Bruno kept showing up, but also we do still have 3 more episodes to go. So thinking back on what I just said about the Red Dagger, like they probably could be like, well, she gets there, and then part of dealing with whatever she finds out in Karachi, maybe she does end up meeting Red Dagger, in that maybe goes to lengths to kind of completing what we know to be coming, and that is her, her full her full costume, but we probably won't see it until like the last episode, the way things tend to go with Marvel stuff these days. But nevertheless, yeah, still good stuff. So they could pull off a couple of things in the very least in the next 2 episodes, like they did it with Moon Knight. So they kind of so I can't imagine them taking at least 1 episode to kind of explore, probably 1 or 2 before they push things back, or maybe they'll end it off there. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
So, but yeah, that was Miss Marvel episode 3. It was quite enjoyable. If you didn't get a chance to, well, if you wouldn't be watching this or listening to this if you hadn't watched it already. So hopefully that's not the case.
If you stayed till this point and you hadn't watched it, you have been spoiled.
Yeah, you did that to yourself.
I exactly. I left out some of the parts, but I definitely left in most of the big pieces. So,
like I said, you did that to yourself if you stayed this long. We don't get me wrong, we do appreciate you, but yeah, you can't blame us for spoilers after we said so repeatedly.
Exactly. All righty.
We're going to go into the books now, which we didn't talk about this beforehand, but I think I know where we're going to start off with. And that would be one Amazing Spider-Man number 4.
All right. Give me a moment.
Probably a good place as any.
All right, so Amazing Spider-Man number 4 is written by Zeb Wells with pencils by John Romita Jr., inks by Scott Hanna, colors by Marcio Meniz, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So this is a direct follow-up to the previous issue, which has Spidey in danger, in the hands of the bad guys. But whose bad guys remains to be seen. Take it away, Roddykat.
So yeah, in this particular issue, we get a swerve that I honestly did not see coming, and made it quite enjoyable for me. So last issue, we Peter had a run in with, or last issue, last part, 1 or 2, regardless. Peter ran into and kind of had a showdown with Tombstone, who kind of gave him what for, and now Peter woke up, and we presume, just like he did, he was still in the clutches. Well, actually, he was, because Tombstone was there, now that I think about it. However, Tombstone was kind of setting up something, but we didn't know how big that setup was. And we see at the end of this the culmination of that, and what we thought to be that was going to be happening with a certain other character was not the case, which I'm not going to spoil it. But what ends up happening is Peter ends up doing Tombstone's dirty work at the end of the day. And I'm pretty sure that's going to make him none too happy now that he knows this. And I guess given that given the page after the end of the issue that we see, that I assume another showdown is coming. We don't know.
Yeah, the sneak preview of the cover of the next issue pretty much tells us there's going to be a Tombstone Spidey showdown coming up.
Right. But I thought this was great because, like I said, we are led to believe one thing is going on until halfway into this book, and then we find out that, oh wait, well, that's not the case, or that's not
Mm,
fully the case. Because some things were not as it were. And also kind of put something back into, kind of make something make sense again, because as we said last time we talked about it, some things was going on that didn't seem to make sense between Tombstone and Robbie Robertson.
hmm
And this bears that out to where, like I said, things were not what they seemed to be. Although, as Robbie said, like, you could have just used a phone.
Right.
So that part in itself was what it was, but at the end of the day, which kind of even had me do a slight audible gasp actually, because like I said, we found out that at the end that Tombstone was pretty much playing Peter
hmm
in his machinations. Um, and I was like, oh, that was pretty good. Like that was actually pretty good. I wasn't expecting like that to go on, because at first I was still kind of scratching my head about certain things that was going on, and this kind of bore some of that out. So that was great.
Right.
And
We
that,
totally didn't see any of it from Tombstone's angle
right.
until the reveal. We only saw it from Spidey's angle, and so we got caught up hook, line, and sinker.
Now then, that being said, there's another part at the beginning of this that still makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up because I was going to circle back to that as
Oh
well.
no,
Because
yeah.
circle back to it, we had to, because it's a 2-page sequence,
Mm-hmm.
and it is one of the weirdest parts of this semi reboot time jump thing after the previous run on Amazing Spider-Man.
Right. So here's what we know, folks. It's been what, 6 months. Peter and MJ are not together. And Peter had been into something. We still don't necessarily know what happened with that. MJ's moved on. This has happened before in Spider Books. So that's not the issue. The issue is there is a child that shows up in this book, or that showed up before, but showed up in this book that looks just like MJ, called her mom even, that is walking and talking, presumably. So this
Right.
child clearly
At least 3 years old.
probably even more than that, more likely. But yes, at the very least, at least 3 or 4
At
years
least
old.
3 years old.
And so we only got a 6-month time jump. And this is where that part kind of had me scratching my head. I'm like, well, wait, because they even said in the beginning, but like, hey, it's been 6 months, da 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 da. And we know, I'm not sure how long has this been since the end of, well, presumably, I guess the 6-month jump was since the end of that last arc, leading to the new #1. Still, unless that child is a clone and artificially grown, and believe me, that does tend to happen.
That's not out of the realm of possibility here in
Right.
the Marvel Universe.
Exactly. Unless it's something like that, which I've having some reason to doubt. Unless it's something like that, there's no way in hell that child is 6 months old. Like, so there is clearly something else going on that we have not been privy to outside of whatever the caused Peter and MJ on the outs, and whatever Peter got into that caused his current attitude and state of being.
Mm-hmm.
So to start off with that, and there was also a visit with Black Cat, who was looking for Peter, which started all this off. Like, okay, that part was like, but then it was like when the child and the whole mommy thing was like, wait, what's going on here? We need some answers.
It's going to be, that's going to be the long running, that, and what Peter Parker or Spider-Man actually did to make himself on the outs, to find himself on the outs with like the FF, with the rest of the hero community. That's going to be the long running reveal, mysterious reveal that Zeb Wells seems to be trying to weave through the pages of this book.
Right. And again, not the first time for that either, but like I said, that's lesser to, or at least for me, that's on the back burner for me at this point, because I need to know where this child has come from in such short a time. In addition to like trying to figure out, why is Peter on the outs? and Mary Jane moving on as she has to this extent. So, but yeah, that's Amazing Spider-Man #4. I don't know if there's anything else to say about it.
No, that's it. I mean, at the end of the day, I it's been so jarring to read this.
Yeah.
That, you know, it's, I don't know. We're like gluttons for punishment when it comes to Spider-Man. You know, to Peter specifically.
to a point, because we have collectively said we are not reading that Savage Spider-Man book, so we know how to tap out.
Right, but at the same time, we've also gone on record and saying, man, they're gonna tease us throughout this entire Spider-Man Beyond story.
And they did
with Ben Reilly, and they kept us on hook, line, and sinker with Peter Parker coming back. So we can fall prey to that as well.
Oh, totally. And in this case, like I said, there is a weirdly bigger draw here that I feel like unless it takes a weird turn, it was like, okay, forget it. You know, we're probably still going to be on the hook for this for another few issues, at the very least another arc.
Right. All right, so we can move on to. You want to go to the other Spider book that's out this week? Did you read that?
You mean the other 2 Spider books? Technically,
I didn't read the Moon Girl one.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Then we'll go to Miles Morales then.
All right, Miles Morales Spider-Man #39 is written by Saladin Ahmed, with art by Alberto Foche, colors by David Curiel, and letters by VC's Corey Pettit. So we find ourselves once again in this alternate universe where Salim has taken control, and the rebels are looking to take Brooklyn back. You know, led by Gonke and Billy, Miles's younger sister, and you know, they have to, you know, launch their plan. Despite, you know, their best efforts, things do go south a little bit, but they do find a particular source for Salim's apparently eternal youth. And that happened at the end of last issue. And in this issue, we get a little bit of exposition as to how all that stuff happened. Take it away.
So yeah, like Agent 70 said, yeah, we're still stuck in this Empire of the Spider. Apparently, did you mention the fact that he found Peter?
Oh no, well, I was about to say I didn't say that, but yeah, I said they found something that was the source of his eternal youth.
Oh right, so yeah, yes. Okay, so yeah, spoiler. Apparently that source was one.
I'm like, that's exactly what I was leading you into, setting you up on the ball on the tee. But Roddykat is not into sports ball, so he, you know, kind of whiffed at that one, folks. So I gotta follow.
I was looking at something while you were talking, so I only caught half of it. So my apologies. But yeah, so he ends up finding, like Agent 70 said, the source of his youth, which ends up being Peter, an old Peter Parker, which he's sapping his blood from, which is making him older, which kind of reminds me of some shows that I've been watching lately, but in a different way, sort of some sci-fi stuff. But regardless, but of course, Peter's been captured by Salim all this time, and he knows how to take down Salim. So they free him, and they do that, but we don't get to see Peter for much longer, because he ends up taking on Mind Spinner, which is another one of Miles's clones, and we don't get to see him again. And at first I was like, okay, are we gonna see Peter die here? But we don't see anything apparently. So.
He's basically fighting a rear guard action so he can cover Miles and Gonke and Billy's move through the base. So, you know, he's gonna hold off this Mind Spinner clone and any other resistance, because they even make a point of mentioning that he must have done a good job because no one's coming.
Right. But hey, what do you expect? It's Peter. So yeah, so they're so with the information they got from Peter in his hand, they are enacting this plan to kind of go after Slim, going underground. Actually, it's kind of funny because in the course of this, Ganke tells Miles, yeah, and kind of short strokes, kind of what Billy was gone through, and what he kind of did in relation to that, which kind of reminded me of Cable. And Cable and Hope, if you remember that, which I realized that's probably that's like a 90s thing, isn't it? Cable finding Hope, and yeah, Hope Summers.
Was that 90s?
I don't know. Like, was that or early 2000s?
I want to say that's 2000s.
Okay.
I want to say that's already 2000s. You know, with the Messiah complex and all that stuff. I want to say that's 2000s.
We'll have to look that up. But nevertheless, I feel like, but basically the fact that Ganke was the one that was raising Billy, to which, kind of put me in mind of Cable in that respect, not much else. So, but yeah, like I said, the main thing is that they continue going along with this plan. Like, there's really not much else to say that won't really
January 2008, Hope Summers.
Oh wow, I didn't think it was that late. I figured that was like an early 2000s thing.
Same.
But the fact that I remember that was actually something. But then again, I guess it's not like Hope and Cable are not around now in the Krakoan era. So that's also probably what made me think of it. Regardless, at the end of this book, I called it a Spider-Verse tie, but it's not really. But they end up finding out that there's another source of power that Salim is drawing from, and it is someone, of course, that is well known to Miles at this point, without giving away spoilers. And I guess if you think about it short enough, it's usually the person they end up coming back to. In this case,
do you know what's funny? You want to see something funny?
What's that?
I'm going to message you something right now.
Okay.
And you'll hear, and folks, you're going to hear this, and this is one of those times when we find ourselves doing some research during the show, and we find ourselves kind of like struck numb by the fact that we've been doing one thing one way. Oh, why does my computer decide to go a little nutsoy? But apparently Bendis on his Bendis boards. Here we go. Here we go. You see what I'm saying?
Great.
You see what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So we've been messing this up for a long time.
Honestly, I kind of figured that, but I had never heard or seen.
I'd never seen that name before. Is that an Asian name, Bendis?
Well, for his, Bendis.
Yeah, exactly.
Role,
we have some contentious feelings towards Bendis and his multiculturalism.
Yeah, in his mind comes from a good place, but not always well executed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so Ganke or
Ganke.
I know. I'm.
Oh my gosh, like what else were we mispronouncing forever and ever, and we had to.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot.
Just.
I mean,
Ganke.
how long have we done the Rain Ronnie thing, right? So.
Oh, that's it. The Rain versus Ronnie. Yeah, that's it.
So there is no short, especially in the Marvel universe, there is no short of things that you never hear out loud that you don't necessarily know how they're pronounced, and then sometimes even when, because like there's the whole Twilight thing in Star Wars part that people still don't get.
Rain. Oh my gosh. Anyway, getting back to the book.
Oh wait, apparently.
Kanki.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That is apparently a pronunciation or one pronunciation of Genki. Genki.
Kanki.
What language?
I mean, it doesn't say on this page. Yeah,
Sorry for the derailment of the show, folks, but when I
Yeah.
saw this, I was like, no, I have to share this now.
right. Usually, thanks to the internet, you can find pronunciations of a lot of things, including this dude's name apparently. But yeah, this page doesn't say.
It's funny. Anyway, we
Anyway,
can move on.
so that's funny. That is weird and funny, but of course, sure. Anywho, where was I? Oh yeah, so I guess to round it off, we find out that like Salim has another source that he's drawing from to keep his dimensional barrier up. I honestly thought that with the new Spider-Verse movie coming out, I thought it was the Spot.
Yeah, I did too.
But it come to find out it wasn't. And like I said, it goes back to someone that is a person that, if you know Miles' history and the people around him, you know who it is.
But it also makes no sense power-wise.
It actually does not. And I was like, okay. Like, in a way, I kind of get it, but I don't remember him drawing that kind of power.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that part doesn't make any kind of sense. And I guess we'll figure out, or I guess they'll spell it out within the next episode or next issue. Why do I keep calling it issues episodes? Regardless, that is it for Miles Morales 39.
I mean, at the end of the day, we've folded in so much television and movie stuff into the show where I remember early on having to correct. I don't know if it was you or Tim, like we're constantly calling issues episodes, and now I've started to do it because it's just part of it's become part of part of our way of thinking now.
Yeah.
But in any event, so yeah, that's it for Miles Morales, Spider-Man number 39. Do you want to go into rapid fire? Because I know you have a lot of books to go through.
Sure, because I think the only one we got left in common is Moon Knight.
So you never got to New Mutants?
Oh wait, no, I didn't. And I had
okay, so I'll skim over that because I know you'll want to read it.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll go ahead and hit the Go ahead and hit
yeah, we'll rapid fire through this now, folks. More Predator stuff all the time.
I ain't got time to bleed.
While you're starting off, I'll be right back.
You got it. First off is Nightwing number 93. It's written by Tom Taylor with art by Bruno Redondo, inks by Wade Von Grawbadger, just on a few pages, colors by Adriano Lucas, and letters by Wes Abbott. So in this issue, we continue to follow up on Dick Grayson's plans to create a haven in Bloodhaven for the youth of Bloodhaven. And it turns out, obviously, Blockbuster has no plans on letting this stuff happen, and he is trying his level best to use the corruption that he is in charge of over in Bloodhaven to make that happen. Unfortunately for him, though, Nightwing has plenty of allies on his side. He is not alone in this book. He is actively working together with Oracle, aka the OG Batgirl, to really tighten the screws on Blockbuster and some of the things that he's trying to pull. And what we find in this issue is that the plot against Haven is revealed. We also have the reveal of the character who's been in the shadows in Blockbuster's, basically in the shadows of this book for the last several issues, once Dick Grayson started on this path to utilizing the money that he inherited in a different way than Bruce Wayne. And so what we find is that this character's name is Heartless, and we find out, some of the reasons behind that particular moniker. And ultimately, this issue plays out pretty well for our hero, but we also leave on a pretty interesting cliffhanger with the reveal of why Heartless is called Heartless. So this was a pretty interesting issue. If you were looking for some non-dark crisis DC stuff, I think Nightwing is probably the best place to find it.
His name has nothing to do with Kingdom Hearts, does it? Which I realize is a reference you probably don't know about.
Yeah.
Probably not. This is quite.
You're
gonna hit me with a who, aren't you?
Yes, I'm trying to get to it, folks.
This is how well I know him.
Thank you.
There we go. Don't worry about it, folks out there
where
know.
did it go?
Anyway, continue.
Where did I put it? Because I did a little bit of shuffling on my soundboard, folks. So there's a couple things that aren't like right where I left them, where I usually have them. So, but anyway, next up is Immortal X-Men #3. It's written by Kieron Gillen with art by Lucas Verneck, colors by Diho Lima, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. So in honor of Pride Month, I did not read the Marvel Pride book this week. That was out this week. But in honor of Pride Month, this issue focuses squarely on the lead lesbian couple in the X-Men, none other than Destiny and Mystique. They have come to the forefront of the X books. And in this issue, we get a ton about their history, about Destiny's diaries and Destiny's writings and the manifestation of her powers and when her blindness kicked in. And there's a bunch of just lots of stuff for a character I never have cared for before. And it's enough to make you think, okay, I sort of get where Destiny's coming from now, but she's always been so annoying. It's a big mountain to climb for me. I don't know about you.
No, you're right. You're right. Because like you have said before, the only time we've seen her is when she's in vaguely prophesizing, something's happening, doom and gloom.
Right, exactly. He's like, I see this. It's bad. It's bad. It's coming. You're doomed. We're all doomed. I'm like, come on, man.
And some of that's still there, but...
Right. So, but the point is, that's the way the character was portrayed when she was old, but now that she has been revitalized and young, and we see her, as the result of the Krakoan rebirth protocols, then, we have a different take on this story. Next up is Moon Knight #12. It's written by Jed McKay with art by Alessandro Cappuccio, colors by Rochelle Rosenberg, and letters by VC's Corey Pettit. So I was under the distinct impression that Moon Knight might have actually ended with this issue, thinking that they were going to end on a 12-issue arc. I was very glad to find out at the end of this issue that they're still going. It's going on, in the heart, in the spirit of Savage Avengers.
I was about to say that exact thing.
Right. Moon Knight is carrying on. And we have Moon Knight versus Zodiac in this. The issue opens with Zodiac taking on Moon Knight's allies because Moon Knight is still trapped, and and he's trying to get away from the what we find out are the previous Fists of Khonshu, who have basically served their purpose and are like the ghosts of these previous Fists of Khonshu. Luckily, Moon Knight is able to make it back to his make it back to the scene of the battle between Zodiac and and Moon Knight's allies with the Fists of Khonshu, the deceased ghosts of Fists of Khonshu in tow, and it's the Fists of Khonshu together that turn the tide of the battle. This is very much like Return of the King, when Aragorn comes with the ghosts from the mountain, and everything, and there's even the Hunter's Moon, the other Fist of Khonshu, has to pull an Aragorn and say, all right, I release you, so that there isn't more bloodshed. But he doesn't release them, but he basically thanks them for doing their thing. At the end of this issue, though, we get a nice little reveal that for longtime fans of Moon Knight will appreciate this character coming in. And I'm wondering if they're going to borrow from the characterization that the Moon Knight television show gave this character. I wonder.
That was my thought when I saw them, because even with what he says, kind of puts me in mind of it.
Right. That's what gave me that idea as well.
Mm-hmm. Also, it would not be a show if Agent 70 did not pull a Lord of the Rings reference.
Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, something else.
Which actually reminds me of something that I'll say real quick, because I was watching something that did the same thing. I was watching Stargate SG-1, and this one scientist was like, it's like 101 Dalmatians when they was doing the Twilight Bark, and this and nobody was getting it. And then he's like, it's like Lord of the Rings. The battle was like, and then everybody was like, oh yeah. And that totally reminded me of you.
I mean, have you guys ever seen that old movie called Aliens?
Oh, damn it.
So, New Mutants number 26, moving on, is written by Vita Ayala with art by Rod Reese and Jan Dersima. Colors are the colors specifically for the flashbacks, because Rod Reese does the art and the colors for himself. The colors for the flashback sequences are by Ruth Redman. Letters are by VC's Travis Lanham. So we find ourselves in limbo, and there are some really cool sequences in this that Rod Reese puts to paper. Some really, really cool sequences. We get a little bit of a nice story that involves a little bit of time jumping, a little bit of time travel-y stuff, a little bit of paradoxy stuff happening in front of us. And it's a weird X-Men group involving Madeline Pryor, Rain, and Magic, and I want to say Danny. Yeah, Danny's here also, Danny Moonstar.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting little group, obviously with Madeline Pryor thrown in as one part of the mixed drink. And so we have Magic in multiple forms, without spoiling everything, doing some stuff. I'm starting to speak like Roddykat to stay as clear of spoilers as possible, because he did not read this issue. So we have to tread lightly and not spoil everything, because I know he's going to take a look at this before this week is done. So I believe that's all I can say about New Mutants number 26, because the story in limbo is not yet done. Last but not least for me is X-Men number 12. It's written by Jerry Duggan with art by Pepe Larraz, colors by Marte Gracia, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. This is a book that Roddykat also has not gotten to. I'm not going to spoil it, but we find ourselves in space with a group of X-Men, an away team group of X-Men. It is an all-female group of X-Men, and they are in space dealing with Cordyceps Jones and all this gambling stuff about, ending the Earth and all that stuff. Meanwhile, Cyclops and Sync are going after a member of Orcus who we've found out may have a relation to a member of the Quiet Council on Krakoa. So that storyline is going to play itself out. The X-Men in space storyline does tend to play itself out with some really nice visuals by Pepe Larraz. And ultimately, at the end of this issue, there's something that before I get to the actual end of the issue, we get we come full circle with the Ben Urich storyline that started in this volume, it does come back.
Okay.
So it's not a big surprise. It's kind of a surprise. I'll put it that way. I was surprised to see it come back because we
Right.
thought it got buried over the last several issues, but it's back. And I don't want to spoil it because I know Roddycat's going to get around to reading this. Let's see here. Next and last, see if I can get this to move. So I'm gonna say, that since the Hellfire Gala is coming up this summer, we're going to get a new election for an X-Men team, and so this particular group of X-Men, this volume of X-Men, is probably this may be the last hurrah or next to last hurrah for this group, this particular lineup of X-Men, because they all talk about whether or not they want to stay on this main kind of X-Men hero team or not. And so we've gotten plenty of characters who say they want off. They have other things going on. Some of them are obvious by some of the other appearances that we've seen these characters make in other books. So and some of them are less so. But ultimately, we're going to see what comes of this hero group of X-Men after the results of the Hellfire Gala. And that's it for me.
Which is soon to be coming. Probably in the next month, I guess. Yeah,
July. I want to say July.
Yeah, because usually not usually. I guess we're gonna get used to saying that now, but because I think it was like June, July last year when the first gala happened. So cool. Let's see. You did do Immortal, right? Did I just miss that?
Yes, I did do Immortal. I did mine in alphabetical order after Nightwing.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Yeah, I just want to make sure I got the order right. So for me, we start off with Batman Superman World's Finest number 4. I don't think Agent 70 is reading this book. Am I right about that?
Yep, not reading it. Go ahead.
You might want to check it out. Particularly this issue, but you might want to check it out for no other reason than something that shows up here. May or may not have you care about it, but basically the Batman and Superman are still trying to deal with this devil Neza situation, who happens to show himself in person in this issue. But first they have to deal with a compromised Green Lantern, as the cover you're seeing on the video version is showing. And from that confrontation, let's just say there's a very interesting fusion dance that ends up happening. And that's
fusion.
It doesn't quite happen that way, but nevertheless, like I said, if you read this issue, you'll get it. And it was kind of interesting from when I saw it. But at the end of it, Supergirl, who was on another mission with Robin, happens to come back with some bad news for the group, and without Robin. So I assume they're going to deal with that. Like I said, I believe the story is supposed to be taking place in the past, and I don't think it is ever said as much. And I'm only basing that off of the fact that one, Batman is with a Robin, and that is not Damian. And two, his costume. So yeah, I'm not sure, but regardless, it's still been fun so far. Let's see. Next up, Magic, the Hidden Planeswalker, number 3. I believe it was a 4. I forgot to get that part. Yeah, it is a 4. So, and I'm foregoing the creative teams. This one's got a lot on it. But it'll be in the show notes if you are interested in this. But yeah, Liliana has, as of last issue, found a previously unknown planeswalker who had some dealings with the big bad that was actually previously thwarted during the pages of the main Magic book. But this here planeswalker had a run-in with them prior to those events, but also apparently is hiding something, and Liliana just found out that that was the case. But she's also trying to keep she's also trying to thwart the plans of one of the bad guys named Tezzeret, who's another, I guess you could say, evil planeswalker. But then again, some people have called her evil at times in this world. So people don't like necromancers in this world. Go figure. But nevertheless, Tezzeret and this other planeswalker at the end of this ends up possibly striking a deal, but we don't know what's. But I guess we'll find out in the next issue. Which is, I guess, the last issue. Next up, Transformers Beast Wars number 17. It is the last issue of this book because IDW lost the Transformers license. Which is sad because this book was actually halfway decent. So if you did not know, this was a kind of a reboot retelling of, not necessarily a retelling, but it was more of a reboot of Transformers The Beast Wars, the show. Things in this book does not go the same way they did in the show. There's some new characters that had been introduced in the course of this volume, but like I said, because of the fact that they lost the license, they had to end the book by this summer, which I guess it was kind of sort of able to do because they had at least a month or two before they knew before now. So but the crux is the Maximals and the Predacons basically had to team up against the Vok, who are the aliens, and their crew, who are consisting of other Cybertronians that are, I don't want to say under their thrall, but that they have in their stable, I guess you could say, including a couple of fan favorites, 2 or 3 fan favorites that were in that mix. But of course, because of the fact that there was a temporary truce that doesn't necessarily stick around that long, as things tend to happen in these situations, things flip after things are said and done. But the end of this issue, while ends this book, kind of leaves something that could be picked up somewhere else if, I guess, whoever or wherever the Transformers license goes can pick up from if they choose to. Or maybe this writer, if they go over there, because as far as I know, this writer, the most of the stuff I've seen of this writer has been with IDW, so I don't know if they're exclusive to IDW or not. But I guess if the licenses are going up somewhere else, maybe they could pick it up someplace else. Although it would be kind of hard to do because I know they had bigger plans that would have caused some things to happen before this particular issue. So who's to say if that could go that way? Next up, number 1 issue that we have from this week is Black Adam number 1. Is of 12 actually, because apparently we found out there's 12 issues of this. That Christopher Priest book that we I believe talked about in the last couple of weeks. And apparently a couple of things are going on here. There's a murder of a Kondak citizen who was kind of a rival of Adam's. That's a mystery that he gets drawn into, but also his powers seeming to be killing him. And at the end of this issue, we come to find out that there may or may be a passing of the torch of said powers that have to do with a descendant of Adam's in the form of this young, I guess he's a medical student, but we find him posing as an actual doctor when we meet him. He's a young hip-hop loving doctor at that. So like I said, we'll probably get a little bit more into that as this series goes on. But it's kind of interesting so far. Like I said, there's a couple of other things pulling this into, and apparently this story takes place before the death of the Justice League. So I assume this whole thing does. But I don't know if this particular version of Black Adam shows up in Justice League because I haven't been reading them, or it's the new one. Because I think the new one has shown up in other books before, including that Teen Titans book. I'm not sure. I may be wrong about that. Regardless, did you have something on that?
No, I just wanted to mention. I wanted to mention that it looks like we got a few books early this week.
Okay, like something on.
Yeah, like I was just looking at what's being solicited for next week. I'm looking at comic lists though, so that may not be the most accurate. So I want to look at Diamond real quick.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that also previews kind of had a typo, had some messed up on theirs too, because they had like the same books for 2 different weeks. You know, they came out one week and then, you know, they were pretty much solicited, not solicited, they were put on their site for the same week, for the week after that. So it could be something like that going on also. But it's not
interesting.
But it's not outside the realm of possibility that we get books early. So not surprised by that. But everything I pulled for cover wise, you know, that I've talked about or that I'm talking about right now looks like it's for this week.
Right. That's what I was going to mention, is that luckily it seems like we are not talking about anything ahead of time.
We have done that also. So
yeah, we've done it. That's why I wanted to, that for whatever reason, it popped into my mind to look at what's coming out next week, because I was kind of wondering about the whole Hellfire Gala thing.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just double check, and it turns out that the Marvel Pride book is actually supposed to be out next week, I think.
Oh, good, because I didn't get a chance to read that. Even though, although that's weird, because I saw that on previews for this week.
Actually, wait, previews has it out for this week. It looks like so.
A little behind the sines, folks.
Yeah, exactly. I apologize, folks, for interrupting Roddykat's fine recap of the books that he's read this week.
No, you're good, because like I said,
it's a little different. I was about to say I apologize because it looks like previews has a different set than Comic List, so that's why we have to go with the industry issued list sometimes, folks.
Which is kind of funny, because I would be the main one going for Comic List a lot of times, but in this case, I have to get covers, so I have to go to previews.
Carry on.
Yep. That was Black Adam #1. Like I said, I think I was finished talking about that though. Next up, Aquaman, The Flash, Voidsong Book 1 is my next book. Bing. So much like actually, friends of the show. I would say friends of the show. We've had them on the show, but former guests of the show, Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, is writing this book. So I don't know if Agent 70 might be interested in this. But
I'll take a look at it.
But it is a team up with Aquaman and the Flash. Not terribly unlike, although it's different because that was a miniseries. Aquaman and Aquaman being Jackson High version of Aquaman that had just finished. But in this particular case, there's a team up between these two characters that have to do with an other earthly invasion, let's just say, that has something to do with a song. And just so happens that both of these heroes were just out of for different reasons out of range of hearing it, so they didn't get captivated like everyone else on Earth, including the Justice League. So they are the ones that are now been tasked with staving off this invasion. And part of it kind of starts off with and I make a joke in my notes, a run-in, boom, with the Flash and his rogues. Because, you know, the Flash. Anyway, it was kind of what kicks this off. So yeah, I'm kind of curious about it. It is a bigger than normal book, so it's like it says booklet 1 and not issue 1. I think it's like 39 pages, I believe it is. So it's not a standardized book. So I guess I'm not sure how many of these there are going to be, but I know
some kind of prestige format. Like if you've been able to see it on the stands, you would have figured out what it was, right?
I guess so. Yeah. So because nothing I've seen in looking into on this book suggested, you know, whether it was like a black label or something like that. It's just a non-standard size issue. Either way, it's kind of interesting. Start off there was some like I said, the team up kind of comes with a shared marital strife between them because, of course, you know, there's something other than the fact that they're the last two heroes left that is tying this whole thing together. So it's I assume there's going to be more of that when this ends up. Next up, though, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, and Moon Girl #1. Sorry, I'm looking for the cover here because I could pull multiple colors. So this seems to be in line with if you've been with us the show a while, we were talking about team up books where that is centered around one particular character who teams up with other characters in the same universe. In this case, it looks like it is one Moon Girl, Lunella Lafayette, who is going to be teaming up with different heroes. In this one, it happens to be Miles Morales Spider-Man. The next one looks like it's going to be the Avengers, particularly with Captain Marvel, it looks like, at the end of this. But the crux of this looks to be Devil Dinosaur is missing and has been, I guess, taken and used for clones. Because, you know, you can't have a Spider-Man without clones being involved. So, you know, but in this particular issue, like I said, that kicks it off. Lunella, who is trying to find Devil Dinosaur, ends up at Brooklyn Visions, you know, part-time home of one Miles Morales, of course. And of course, in that they end up actually literally bumping into each other a couple of different times between teaming up. And at the end of this, like I said, it kind of leads Moon Girl to go elsewhere to on the trail of her missing companion. Don't know if Miles is going to show up in the next book or not, but it seemed like it was kind of like, hey, here's his team up, and then they're pushing off to something else. So it was kind of cute. Apparently, we find out that Moon Girl finds out who Miles is at the end of this, which I don't know if that's going to mean anything going forward, but hey, there it is. Next up, though, we hadn't talked about this in a minute. Maestro, World War M #4 of 5, which, wait, did you read this one? Because you didn't have it in your thing.
I did read it very quickly.
Gotcha.
It was very fun.
Yes.
So feel free to spoil it because I did read it.
Yes. We get a deep, deep pull, folks, in the Marvel Universe in the form of Giganto, which is basically like, hey, you've seen what if Moby Dick had legs? That's pretty much Giganto. This is set in the world of I guess this is in the future, a possible future of the Marvel Universe, where the Hulk becomes a Maestro. We've talked about this before, like I said. Still kind of going up against a few
future imperfect timeline.
Yes, Agent 70 will not let me forget it because I still haven't. If you're keeping track, I still haven't read said 2-issue storyline.
I'm glad that you emphasized the 2-issue storyline.
Yes, which was also written by the writer of this this miniseries and the previous ones, Peter David. So there you go. It's all in the same universe, so to speak. Just like the next book, actually. So, but this one was very fun. There was a big fight between Giganto and Abomination and the Maestro. And the Maestro. And then there was some other stuff with Namor and Doctor Doom on the side of this. That are still kind of playing about. So yeah, it was a pretty fun issue, to say the least. Including the fact that I guess Peter David doesn't like. I was about to say he doesn't like women. That's not true, but there's some squishing of women in this book. That was kind of like, wow, this is a thing, huh?
That's a step too far there, but yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah. Like I'm making a joke about the fact because obviously that's not it, but it just so happened that, like I said, it just so happened the same thing happened to a couple of different characters in this book, and probably before now that I think about it. But regardless,
right. And there's also a Godzilla reference in here.
Yes.
Made me laugh.
Yes, that is also true. and a bonking of the head with a helmet, which I found kind of funny for some strange reason.
And also a nice callback to the actual way the Fantastic Four defeated Giganto the very first time.
Yep, indeed. So, and speaking of the Fantastic Four, my next book is the new Fantastic Four, #1 of 5. So it's new in the sense that it is a new story. One, it is new in the sense that, as I find there we go. It is new in the sense of at the time that these 4 heroes became the new Fantastic Four, that was the thing, which I will go ahead and say that this story, while being new, a new story set in an old time frame, which Peter David is doing. Which again, this is Peter David. This is a story that takes place, according to this book, not long after Fantastic Four 347 through 349, which was the run of Fantastic Four where Spider-Man, Hulk, Ghost Rider, and Wolverine took over as the Fantastic Four back in the day. So yeah, this is pretty much taking place right after that. So there's this priest who apparently has a little bit more to him than he recognizes. We're checking up on some folks that are underground that are not Morloids. They made that clear. And who can apparently see demons. To which he ends up calling for help in the place of our in the guise of our heroes, unbeknownst to him, and they end up coming to Vegas, which again, this is back in the day, and I believe this was around the time. Yeah, this was around the time of Joe Fixit. So Joe Fixit was the one that was centered in Vegas at the time. So they all end up there to help out this priest, who again, like I said, has a little bit more to him than he recognizes, against this demon that is pretty much stoking the fires of the underground people to, I guess, rise up or something. But it comes to find out it's a demon in disguise, and he called the right people for the job, including one Ghost Rider, who at the end of this finds himself by himself thanks to some well-placed words of this preacher. So I don't know, 8 to 70, you might enjoy this story, I would say.
I skimmed it very quickly. I didn't read it nearly as closely as I did the Maestro book. I skimmed it super quickly.
Gotcha. Yeah, like I said, it's interesting. For one of those types of books, or at least so far, anyway. Like I said, those though, we always talk about, like, okay, this is a new story that's set in the past. We don't know if it's supposed to affect anything in the present or future, or if this just so happens to be like, maybe this is an anniversary book that they're just happen to be like, hey, here's the story that we had on the shelf, which has happened sometimes, or this is a brand new story because it's an anniversary and we wanted to revisit some of these characters, which is probably the case for the last couple of books. But anyway, Duo #2 is my next book, and my last book actually, but there's another one I'm going to bring up very quickly after that I want to at least call attention to. So this book and the next book are in the Earth M Milestone Dakota-verse of the DC universe. That is the same universe that Static Shock and Icon and Rocket, et cetera, come through. But this, unlike those season 1 books that we've been talking about, this is a brand new book in that universe. And this is the second issue that is, this is written by Greg Pak, who I guess we could say we like around these parts. And penciled by Koi Pham, inks by Scott Hanna, colors Chris Sotomayor, and letters by Janice Chang. So basically, there's this engaged couple who are both doctors, Kelly View and David Kim, who developed these nanobots for healing purposes, and they were shopping them around to companies, or one particular company who kind of wanted to buy them out, but because of the implications of them, didn't want them to be the ones to further the research on them. And this company's head and may have some other things going on behind the scenes, as we found out in the first issue. But before the end of last issue, there was an accident that happened because of the fact that let's just say someone was pretty much out to get them or take their lives, ended up causing them to use this technology to one used this technology to save the other person's life, which caused them to be blended together. One's mind is in the other's body, and also they have superpowers. In other words, so if you know characters like Firestorm, who has somebody in their head, but in this case they cannot separate, or like Starhawk and Alita from the Guardians of the Galaxy, or the OG Guardians of the Galaxy, if you go back that far, it's kind of a similar situation when you just pretty much have somebody screaming in your head the whole time, especially when this person already knows you and can finish your sentences as they have established in the first issue. It gets to be something, but now they're pretty much trying to figure out their power set and try to figure out who quote unquote killed the why are they being sought after to be killed in this particular issue here. It's a pretty interesting read so far, so I'm going to probably keep up with it for the time being, just to kind of see what's going on there. Because like I said, it's a premise we haven't seen in a minute. Yeah, like I said, it's something new into the Dakotaverse, although they haven't really called out anybody else in the Dakotaverse just yet, but it is definitely in that universe. So we'll see what happens with the duo going forward. And outside of, oh yeah, I'll just mention this book real quick. I'm about to say, there is a book that came out this week called Milestones in History. It was a one-shot in the world of Milestone, which looks to be a bunch of short stories of historical figures, because there's an introduction in the beginning that I didn't read the whole thing through. I'll be honest right now, I just kind of skimmed through it. But it's things introduced by a couple of Milestone characters, including Static Shock and Icon, and then it just kind of goes into an history, as in like a world history of certain historical figures, and I believe that is supposed to be in relation to the Milestone / Dakotaverse, and I think they're going forward. Like I said, I only got a certain I only got a little ways in before we had to start doing the show, so but I will probably revisit it a little bit more afterwards. But it's something interesting if you are if you haven't interested in anything that I just said about that. And that is it for me. We can go on to Kliqs of the Week.
Kliqs of the Week.
So we have actually a full house tonight as far as Kliqs of the Week. Actually, we got a little bit more than that, but nevertheless, let's see. Dirt said that Moon Knight number 12 was his Kliq of the Week.
Good pick, good pick.
Oh yeah, there was lots of action with that. If we did not mention that earlier.
No, we did. Remember the Lord of the Rings reference.
Oh yes, yes, indeed. And for Tim, he had a double pick. It's X-Men 12 and Immortal X-Men number 3, but he said probably Immortal X-Men number 3 if he had to choose one. But we're giving them both.
We'll give them both.
You know.
And the reason why I said I'm more than willing to give him both, and you know, we've done it before,
yes,
is because these two issues are amongst my group of books that I'm picking from my own Kliq of the Week. So I'm still, you know, considering my pick. Do you have yours right away?
I did mention the potential before the show, and I'm thinking I might actually go with that one, but I'm kind of teetering in between that one and Moon Knight was pretty good, but Batman Superman fusion thing was kind of interesting, even though it was short lived.
Shun.
Even though it was short lived, that was kind of interesting. But I don't think we've pinned Kliqs on lesser things. Let's face it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I like the swerve, and I think I know where Roddykat's going with this. I like the swerve in Amazing Spider-Man #4 because it did take me mostly by surprise as well. I think that the Moon Knight issue was great because we got to see, different aspects of the Moon Knight mythos expanded upon over these past 12 issues.
Yeah.
And it's still going, which is great.
Yeah.
We've got the Hunter's Moon thing. We've got these previous Fists of Khonshu that the Hunter's Moon has a rapport with because, he's more in touch with the spiritual side of being the Fist of Khonshu. So, Moon Knight #12 is a strong issue, but myself, much like Tim Dog 98, I'm kind of in between Immortal X-Men #3 and X-Men #12 because Immortal X-Men #3 I thought was just a strong character piece. Like I said, it takes a lot to make me care a little bit more about Destiny. It takes a lot, and this issue does a lot.
Right.
X-Men #12, though, I think does its job by wrapping up this particular 12-issue arc with this team of X-Men and setting things up for the next group to deal with certain things that are kind of left as the result of some decisions that are made in this issue. So I'm going to go with X-Men #12.
Okay. That's X-Men #12 for Agent 70. For myself, yeah, like I said, the amazing twist was a thing. The Black Adam book is kind of interesting, even though, well, actually, there's no even though because we don't necessarily know where it's going. We know he has a movie coming out, but if they're trying to kill him and replace him with another another main character, I guess we got to see where that one goes. Transformers Beast Wars, kind of hate to see that one go, but nevertheless, it was a pretty good run. And definitely Duo #2 is kind of interesting for being a newer book in the Milestone mythos that I'm very curious to see a little bit more of. But yeah, I think I am actually going to go with Amazing #4 because of the twist and whatnot. Like I said, there was some pretty good stuff out this week, so I don't feel bad about anything that's been picked or that we've talked about. After that, definitely some good pack of books this week. And with that, we're going to go into the news section, but first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Funko, Fun at First Sight. It's your home for exclusive collectibles such as their world-famous pop vinyl bobbleheads, apparel including t-shirts, hats, and socks, and brand merchandise such as their custom DIY pop figures, art books, and skateboards. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy 10% off your entire purchase when shopping at Funko. To place your first order with 10% off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Funko link and place your order. When you get to the checkout, put in the offer code SHOP10 for your 10% off discount. Funko through cspn.us. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
Yes, cinematic news is what we start off with every week around this time. Guess what, folks? We talked about this before. Joker 2 is happening. What we did not talk about is apparently it's going to be a musical. And if this deal goes through, Lady Gaga, it seems, is going to be playing Harley Quinn. Yeah, let that sink in just for one moment, shall we?
I mean,
yeah, that's pretty much that. A sequel that wasn't needed is now a sequel that apparently is going to be a musical with Lady Gaga, who, respect to Stephanie Germanotta, you know, I can't say she's the best actress.
She's got a poker face.
Oh, God damn it. This show's over. Bye. Goodbye, folks. Okay, let me stop. Anyway. God damn it. How long have you been sitting on that one? just how long were you sitting on that? Oh, God damn it. Next story.
As if we didn't need more Batman in a different, Elseworld setting. DC's next animated Batman film reimagines Batman as an Aztec Dark Knight fighting for freedom and vengeance against invading Spanish conquistadors. I mean, do we really need more Batman action figures?
No. I kind of figured after they did that Batman Samurai thing, I can't say I'm surprised by this.
I guess.
So
Batman Azteca Choque de Imperios does not currently have a release date.
But nevertheless, it's going to come.
Yeah.
I have yet to hear about a DC animated joint that didn't actually come out, especially if it was Batman. So now it says, this article does say it's set to debut courtesy of HBO Max Latin America. So are they saying that it's going to be? I guess it's not saying one way or the other. Whether it's just going to be on HBO Latin America, or it's going to go like wide and just going to be on HBO Max just in general,
Yeah, hard to know.
Yeah. Anywho, actually, real quick, let me do this. There we go. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man films are coming to Disney Plus, but not in the US. So if you got those 3 magic letters, you will be able to find them. Don't worry. Matter of fact, I believe at this point they are all out there in the UK. Yes, they are. I mean, you probably already own them, so it doesn't matter one way or the other. But again, if you got those, if you just have a hankering for them and don't have those, and don't have them readily available, there's those 3 magic letters that can easily rectify that situation.
Righto.
Next up.
Alrighty. So, fans noticed that a gift Kamala Khan receives in the Ms. Marvel episode from last week, episode 2, resembles something she wore on the cover of the comic's first issue. So, there's a scene where Kamala Khan's friend Nakia offers a shirt for Kamala to wear during her driving lesson with her crush, Kamran. The shirt's pattern, Vin noted, bore a striking resemblance to the scarf Kamala wore on the cover of 2014's Ms. Marvel #1, the character's solo comic debut. Oh, that's cool.
So I totally forgot. I noticed that, and I totally forgot to mention that. It even has the color. Well, granted, it doesn't have the lightning bolt that is on the shirt, but it's still got the color of the lightning bolt. So it was definitely
cool.
A cool homage. See, folks, in things you didn't think you wanted, in fact, you probably didn't, and if you were like
things you never thought you were going to get,
that also
things you never thought you were going to get.
And part of me is saying why. Don't get me wrong, I love this character, but nevertheless, Destin Daniel Cretton produced Wonder Man Marvel series is on tap at Disney Plus with Andrew Guest as a head writer. So yes, folks, there is going to be a Wonder Man Marvel series. Now, if you don't know who Wonder Man is, I think somebody I follow called him a D-list. He's not necessarily. I would say probably C, upper B.
Yeah, I would say C. I would say
Yeah.
C because he had a lot of shine in the 80s.
Yeah, but that shine has dulled.
Yes, because
this
they
is-
don't know what to do with him. They've made him a pacifist. I mean,
yeah, that was terrible.
it's gotten pretty bad. They
And I
made
think
him a
he's,
villain for a little while too.
and I think he's teetering on both of those at this point. The last time I checked, but yeah, he had a big crush on Scarlet Witch, so that could have played into something in the MCU prior to now if they had done right. His brain patterns was the original brain patterns of Vision. That also could have come into play if they had introduced this character well before now. And both of those could have been a little bit of a soapy thing, but nevertheless, don't get me wrong. Like I said, the best thing I can say about this is, like, you know what? They're almost putting the pieces together for the wackos, and I appreciate that part, but I know they're probably not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We still don't have Tigra. We technically don't have a Mockingbird in the MCU, even though we had gotten one on Agents of Shield, and I would love for that one to come back because she was pretty good.
Right.
But,
because there's a couple things, there's a couple things with bringing in Agents of Shield and bringing in the Netflix stories and whether or not they're canon or not.
right.
It's funny that something that came up in X-Men number 12 with Ben Urich. I was like, wait a second, Ben Urich's dead in the Netflix series. So what are they going to do if they ever need to use that character again?
They'll probably put somebody else in instead.
Yeah, they'll just create another journalist, I guess.
Or maybe bring in Robbie.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Or did they
use a substitute, I guess. But yeah, it's just kind of sad that that a character like that has had such a long-standing consequences in the Marvel universe, gets killed off in a Netflix show, and then the rest of the MCU has to kind of cover for it.
Yep. But as far as this article is concerned, so Destin Daniel Cretton, you may know from the director, being the director of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. He is going to be the executive producer in this, and possibly the director, according to this article, on the Wonder Man series, and serve as co-creator with Andrew Guest, who I don't know who Andrew Guest is, actually. Oh, it says here, consulting producer on Hawkeye, but hey, you can say that about my correction. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Community, 30 Rock. So he's been around for a little bit. Also, if that's the case, that's a lot of comedies. Is this going to be a comedy?
I guess, possibly. I mean, it makes sense.
In a way. I mean, there's that whole stint as a stuntman he did, so
yeah.
I guess they could do something with that. We still never got that doggone Damage Control show, but we're not going to talk about that since what they're doing now. Next up,
Valkyrie actor Tessa Thompson offers some insight as to what kind of ruler her character is and how she ended up going by King as the leader of the Asgardians instead of a different royal title in the upcoming Thor: Love and Thunder, which, believe it or not, is coming up so quickly.
Yes.
In an interview with Total Film, Thompson opened up about Valkyrie's new title and path. She says she's a kind king. She knows there's some confusion on the internet in terms of the gendering with her being a king. The truth is that's the job that Thor was going to do. Then he just gave her the job, and they just didn't bother to change the title because the title is king. And she's like, well, I can be king. The suit that she wears, they thought it was a fun homage, a fun nod to Frida Kahlo. Okay.
Plus, it's Tessa Thompson, so hey, I'm just saying, it's all good one way or the other. There's something else about that I was gonna say. Oh yeah, it's 2 weeks away from Thor: Love and Thunder, and they're still rolling out TV spots.
I stopped watching.
Yeah, same.
I stopped watching. I saw it pop up on my phone, as an ad to something else. I was like, nope.
Yeah, and then YouTube has been kind of putting some, ads before the show or in the middle of videos. I'm like, all right, don't do this to me. Click. Anyway, next up, Alf, the animated series, is finally going to be available to stream. Ha! He kills himself. Which I guess you can't say that anymore, huh?
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know. Hey, trust me, folks. That's the thing he used to say in the show. So a lot of you folks out there are not old enough to understand what Alf, the alien life form, was.
He was a phenomenon.
He definitely was. Apparently, still, I saw something fairly recent about that. There was like, yeah, they always wanted. I think it was a Toy Galaxy thing or something. I can't remember. About Alf, strangely enough. And it talked about the animated series, and the creator wanted to keep Alf as a quote unquote in world person and not as a puppet. You know, because it was a kind of a puppeteer thing going on with it. But Alpha is basically a personality, and some other stuff was going on with it. And I'm like, it was kind of interesting, but I was like, okay. And some
I
stuff
forgot
they
his
wanted
name
to do
was
with
Gordon Shumway.
Yes, Gordon Chumway.
I totally forgot that. I'm like, why does that name sound familiar? Oh, that was Alf's name.
That was his real name from the planet of Melmac, which the animated series was based off. This was so the animated series was an old 80s cartoon that came up on Saturday mornings. It was him when he was back on Melmac before he ended up coming to Earth, and he had his friends, and he was still going by Gordon. And there weren't that many cats, even though there was the cats were a delicacy. Blah blah blah, all that, this and that. But yes, but now, folks, you can watch the Alf the animated series in all its splendor on, of course, Shout Factory, because that is where purveyors of classic TV is now going to in a lot of cases. Probably be on Netflix at some point, sure, I'm sure. But regardless, there you go, folks. Next up.
Alrighty, next up, the larger cast of Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender series is taking shape, with the project recently adding actor A. Martinez, the Days of Our Lives star, will play. Is it pronounced Ang or Ang?
Ang. Ang.
All right, so we'll play
Most
Aang's waterbending master and Katara and Sokka's future step grandfather, Master Paku of the Northern Water Tribe. According to Avatar News, he finished filming his parts earlier this month. Okay.
That's kind of crazy, because I do remember, I saw the name A. Martinez. I was like, wow, I hadn't heard that name in a while, because like the article says, it stays over our lives, but I could have sworn he was on another soap opera before that, or I think he's on Days of Our Lives now or something. Regardless, that's where I know that name, but I hadn't heard it in a while. So yeah, apparently they're still doing that live action Avatar thing. Hopefully it's somewhat good. Now we're going over into the anime corner.
Hold on.
I would assume one of these days I'm going to recognize where that comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Dragon Ball Super news. Dragon Ball Superhero unleashes surprising new Saiyan form, and it looks like there's a spoiler for the upcoming movie, so I won't go too far into this article. But apparently that the form that we talked about last week, I believe it was, that Gohan, the new form that Gohan takes, sounds like it might be different from this new Saiyan form. If I read the part, the non-spoilery part right above this, and I could be wrong about that, it could be the same thing, but I don't think so. But nevertheless, there's going to be a new Saiyan form because it's Dragon Ball. You got to have something. Next up,
Super Saiyajin blank.
I know, right?
You know, this is what happens when all you do is watch the Japanese with subs. So, you know, I can never remember how to pronounce these things, you know, when they anglicize them, like Saiyan.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
some
because you know my instinct says Saiyan, so I don't know why.
Yeah. And having grown up with the dubs, it's definitely been Saiyan to me. But yes, I know it's sacrilege not to watch things, or some would say it's sacrilege not to watch things sub nowadays. Watch anime like you want to, folks. Don't worry about other people.
Listen, as long as you watch it and enjoy it, that's great, you know.
Exactly.
But I think it's still preferable to watch it in the original Japanese with subs. But
totally.
Hey,
and the dubs are way better than they used to be.
Yeah. All right. So Dragon Ball Superhero sets its cast for the English dub. Speaking of dubbing, so it's now screening across theaters in Japan, And Superhero has officially unveiled the cast for the English dub release of the movie ahead of its launch in theaters worldwide later this August. So I'm not going to go through all these, but I think a lot of these are going to be familiar for people who are fans of the dub.
Mm-hmm. So I believe there was one particular note in here that got people all kind of wilding out. The name Charles Martinet, to those who are into video games, you know that name. You know that name kind of well. The fact that Charles Martinet is in this is kind of freaking funny. If you don't know who Charles Martinet, he is the voice of Mario, as in the Nintendo not anymore plumber Mario, that pretty much goes hoo ha, it's me Mario. You know that
It's me Mario.
Exactly, that is Charles Martinet. So, like I said, and people saw news of him being in this and just kind of went crazy. Which, to be fair, yeah, I can see that, because if you know the dude for only this one person, granted he's done other things, but I mean he's done other voices, but that's the one that people more know. Like, I can't imagine the voice of Mario coming out of a Dragon Ball character. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, outside of that, there's some known voices, including some returning folks in the Dragon Ball parlance. So that's great. Anyway, Ruby Ice Queendom anime sets RTX 2022 premiere. And I see RTX, I'm thinking about video cards, folks, because it's still hard to get certain video cards. Anyway, Ruby fans who will be on hand for this year's iteration of Rooster Teeth's RTX convention will be amongst the first to see Ruby Ice Queendom, the new anime series from Japanese studio Shaft. The first ever theatrical screening of Ruby Ice Queendom will be held at the Paramount Theater in Austin, Texas on Thursday, June 30th, the eve of RTX Austin 2022, which will probably take place from July 1st to the 3rd. And apparently this article notes that it has been 9 years since the original Ruby series started. Back in 2013, so that's interesting. Is there anything else more than that? No, there's not much more. If you know that anime, then you know the deal on that. Next up,
as part of a larger celebration of the Berserk franchise, the Golden Age arc film trilogy is airing on Japanese TV for the first time, with a special recut version called the Memorial Edition. This announcement was made on the Japanese entertainment site Comic Natalie. According to site translations from Crunchyroll, the Memorial Edition will air sometime later this year. Details about how the films will be recut have not yet been revealed. However, a new poster and promotional video were released to promote the upcoming Memorial Edition. The video was posted on Aniplex's official YouTube channel. Berserk is something I've had some trouble getting into. I started watching like the new version, but I wanted to actually start with the old version, so I'm not sure where to go from here.
Yeah, I've never penetrated that one myself, but I have known people to really like that one. So maybe one of these days I'll be able to penetrate it. So wait, it does say why it's called the Memorial Edition? I assume it has something to do with the creator's death.
It's an anniversary.
Well, yeah, that too. Yeah. Okay, so I guess that's just the reason, not because of the mangaka. Okay, well, sure. My Hero Academia's 6th season previewed in second promo video. So this is from a Tokyo Advanced screening for the new original My Hero Academia episodes that were apparently have debuted on Sunday. There was a second promotional video for this fall's 6th anime season. The new season adapts the Paranormal Liberation War arc of the manga, which features an all-out war between the heroes and the villains. If you're Agent 70 and anybody else who's caught up on My Hero, you're nodding your head and like, okay, bet. Next up,
I literally just started watching this video because I hadn't watched it yet.
Oh, really?
So I'm going to keep that handy.
All right.
All right. Next, last but not least in cinema news, My Hero Academia's baseball and Endeavor anime special set streaming premiere dates. So these are the 2 season 5 summer OVAs, original video animations. Hero League Baseball and Laugh Like You Are in Hell will begin streaming worldwide on August 1st. Yay! The August premiere date for the specials was announced at a stage greeting event for My Hero Academia that was streamed on the Toho Animation YouTube channel. Okay.
Yep. So again, fans rejoice.
That's cool. New content is always welcome.
Absolutely. Next up, we're rounding the corner to manga / toy corner business.
You mean a transition?
Sure, go for it. Spy X Family shares close look at Lloyd and Anya Nindoroids. I am mad at the suspicious absence of your Nindoroid, but hey, we're gonna talk about that anyway. Good Smile Company has shared a much closer look at their new Anya and Lloyd Forger Nindoroid figures that are coming our way. Looks like it says here, do we know when we're going to get them? Looks like you can pre-order, or at least there's a pre-order page up. And if you're watching the video version, you can see the tweet from Good Smile with photos of the figures. Again, know your why. That's a gross oversight. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you. Next up.
Still trying to watch that My Hero Academia video. Jujutsu Kaisen expands its cursed domain to Universal Studios Japan. So it will be the latest franchise to join Universal Studios in Japan. Growing list of cool promotions and attractions that will probably never make their way outside of Japan. The official Twitter account for Universal Studios Japan announced that attractions themed after Gigi or Gigi, Akutami's smash hit shonen anime and manga are coming to the theme park. Details about the collaboration remain scarce, but the announcement tweet teases, quote, appearing in front of you with an impossible sense of reality, experience the fierce battle between Itadori and the curses, suggesting that there may be some kind of Jujutsu Kaisen themed virtual reality experience of some kind. According to the park's website, the collaboration will begin on September 16th, 2022, and will run until July 2nd, 2023. Okay.
That sounds cool. We'll never see it.
Yep.
Now going over into the comic book news.
More transitions.
Just reminded me that I need to read that. I still hadn't read that Conroy story from DC Pride.
Right.
But speaking of DC Pride, Robin's boyfriend befriends a surprising figure, not so surprising really, from Tim Drake's past. So yeah, we recently found out that Tim Drake was bisexual. He has a new boyfriend now, who just got introduced to his old girlfriend, Stephanie Brown, aka Spoiler. And this was in the pages of DC Pride Tim Drake special #1, which I believe came out last week as a standalone to DC Pride, because I think DC Pride was like 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So yeah, the meeting occurred at the conclusion of the story in the anthology. And it kind of goes on and talks about some other stuff during there. But hey, if you don't want to get spoiled about it, then, you know, I'm going to leave that out right there and let you discover that for yourself, how that went. Next up,
DC Comics will launch Tim Drake Robin, a new ongoing series on September 27th, the company announced. The character got a media boost last summer when it was revealed in Batman Urban Legends #6 that Tim Drake was bisexual. The new storyline spins out of that series and the recently released Tim Drake Pride special. The new series will be written by Megan Fitzmartin with art by Riley Rossmo and cover by Ricardo Lopez Ortiz. In the story, a new villain threatens Bernard and everyone else Tim cares about as Tim carves out a corner of Gotham City just for himself and sets up shop in his murder shack boat. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I was kind of surprised Tim Drake's been getting a little bit more shine lately. I mean, after what the Young Justice, I didn't think we were going to see too much more of him. But then again, and actually, I thought that was this summer that I thought it was like more recent than last summer that he came out as bisexual. So, but time flies, so go figure.
Right.
But,
I was about to say we just started this summer though, so
true. But yeah, but they made it sound like it was like last summer, not this last. So, well, I mean, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So
yeah, so that might have been actually 2021.
Yeah, like I said, but it's just
folks, we read a lot of comics, we take in a lot of content, we lose track of things sometimes.
Yeah,
like in terms of like real world time.
Yeah, like I said, things have been going, like we've had a lot of things going, so yeah. Like it still doesn't seem like it's that long. It's kind of crazy. I don't know if it's 2021, but well, it is 2021. It has to be. Never mind. But it still doesn't seem that long for some strange reason. And like I said, our time is moving like comic history at this point. Anyway, Cyborg gets an amazing new costume he deserves, according to this article, in Teen Titans redesign. And this is spoilers for Dark Knights of Steel #7. So this is not even in, this is an Elseworlds book, you might as well go ahead and say. As seen in Dark Knights of Steel #7, Cyborg and his Teen Titan compatriots of Raven, Beast Boy, and Starfire have only been introduced to the series and have arrived with new redesigns that fit them well. I don't know if we get, yeah, we do. So if you're watching the video version, you can see an image of the 3 characters just mentioned in their costumes, or yeah, and their outfits there. I mean, his just looks like a suit of armor, kind of. So I don't see that as being better than what he's got going on. But in this, it's set in a fantasy world, so sure, I get it. So this article may be a slightly hyperbolic, as they tend to happen to be. Amazing would not be the word that I would use. Next up.
All right, so in something I did not realize was happening, apparently the newest DC villain is the dark version, spoiler alert, of Alfred Pennyworth. So this is all happening in the pages of Batman Killing Time. And this book is by Tom King, David Marquez, and Alejandro Sanchez. And right now, this character called the Help, no pun intended, every pun intended, is apparently the dark mirror image of Alfred Pennyworth. Even goes so far as to beat Batman in a duel, and has found himself in a position to give the Batman some aid. So I don't know when this happens in DC current continuity, but it's interesting that that King has this character as the opposite side of the coin for Alfred.
Well, it could have been worse. It could have, in the pages of Robin, brought him back with the Lazarus stuff and made him evil. So that's what I was thinking of.
Right. Or Nightwing, yeah.
Right. So also The Help. This is written by Lee Daniels. Like, what are we doing?
Oh no.
Good gracious. Anywho, DC's going to kill Harley Quinn, and she has to uncover her own murderer. Apparently this is going to, oh, by the way, I guess this is a good time to mention that DC solicitations for September 2022 are now coming out or have been out. I believe we do have Marvels and DC's and one other one in the show notes. So check that out if you feel like it. But anyway, Harley Quinn is going to die in a solo series, and she has to solve the mystery of her own murder. So that's her. That's the old chestnut. You know how that goes. Written by Stephanie Phillips and artist Matteo Lally. The synopsis is that Harley gets killed in this one for real, and since Sherlock Holmes and Hercule Poirot are not available, she will need to solve the crime herself. Just how Harley will die remains to be seen, but the title promises a wild arc for readers to dive into. So there you go. Next.
Alrighty, so in a Dark Crisis spin-off or tie-in series, this is also from the September DC solicitations. It turns out that a reformed Young Justice of Robin, Tim Drake Robin, Con-El Superboy, and Bart Allen Impulse will be battling both the Justice League and the Teen Titans. So yeah, fisticuffs galore.
Yeah, actually, that book has started this week. The Dark Crisis Young Justice. This is talking about issue 4, which is coming up in September, though. I hadn't checked that out because I still hadn't checked out the Dark Crisis stuff. So I guess at some point I get to it. Black Adam is going to lay the smackdown on an enemy strong enough to kill Superman. Slightly hyperbolic also, but still not far off, I guess. In fact, this was teased in Black Adam #1, if I'm not mistaken, at the beginning of Black Adam #1. Basically, Black Adam is going to go up against the dark side. Because at the start of this book, he's looking for Darkseid for some reason. Does it have anything to do with the fact that his powers are killing him? Maybe, maybe not. Don't know. But nevertheless, it is a thing. This article has a variant cover that shows the two sparring off, or in this case, Adam getting a good punch in on Darkseid, which he did in this book, by the way, but it turned out not to actually be Darkseid. Spoiler alert. So, but it was a good start of the book. Anyway, next up,
Deceased's final chapter forces a major galactic threat to step up as heroes. Writer Tom Taylor and artist Trevor Hairston's zombie epic begins to wrap this summer with Deceased: War of the Undead Gods. According to the September 2022 solicitations, the title's second issue promises that the undead apocalypse will stretch beyond Earth all the way to the planet Korugar, homeworld of Sinestro. So to stop an undead Darkseid and his forces, the Green Lantern villain and the rest of the Yellow Lantern Corps will have to work with the heroes they usually war against. Okay.
Sure. Boop. Marvel Legends X-Men Retro Apocalypse figure exclusive is on sale right now. If you're watching the video version, you can see the figure in all its glory, but it looks like
so purple.
Exactly. It is the X-Men animated series era version of Apocalypse. Agent 70 as the resident Marvel Legends figurehead here. You plan on getting this?
No, I'm good with the Apocalypse I've got because this one's just so purple. But there are definitely people who are keyed up for the animated series versions because that's the X-Men that they grew up with.
Right.
There are plenty of people who are only 5 or 6 years younger than us and down, whose introduction to the Marvel Universe was in fact the X-Men animated series. That's what they remember fondly. That's what they remember best.
Right.
And so it's those collectors who, have money in their pockets now, who've gotten some, established credit or whatever, and they're the ones who've put in the request for these figures.
Mm-hmm. Wait, is this
people who are just like 5 or 6 years younger than us?
Right. So this is a 6-inch figure and includes alternate hands, grimacing alternate head, plasma cannon, the accoutrement you would expect for that version of for Apocalypse. For that version, because the one we got now was not around. Let's see, it's a fan channel exclusive. The pre-order is live now and looks like it's $38.99 and will arrive between September and October of this year, if you are inclined to get it. Next.
Right, so this is a spoiler for Savage Avengers #2.
Yeah.
And Roddykat did read this.
Yeah, I didn't talk about this particular part though.
You didn't bump on this? I thought this was cool. I skimmed this. I was like, oh, okay.
No, I did bump on it. I just didn't talk about it.
Oh, right. Well, because it involves a character named Hulkverine.
Yes, that.
So Hulkverine, because they've been transported back to the Hyborian age. Hulkverine is, in the story is unable to get his gamma going the way he normally would. But when he does get something gamma related going, he doesn't turn into a Hulk, but turns into another gamma related creature. And if you're familiar with the Hulk mythos and who of Hulk's relations turn into gamma powered beings, you may find this one relatively familiar. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to put it. Because I remember when I read this and I was like, boy, you can just write anything into any kind of way and just let that and not even blink about it. I was like, all right, sure, all right, this is what we're doing. Also, a Savage Avenger, so I didn't really care that much, but it was definitely something I bumped on because of the fact that it happened.
Right.
Anyway, shocking Marvel character just became Asgard's last hope. This is from Spider-Man 2099 Exodus number 2, which neither one of us are reading, so spoilers regardless if you are, I guess. I don't know. Apparently it's Loki, folks. Loki is the one. Apparently in a preview provided by Marvel, Loki is wandering through the post-apocalyptic landscape when he comes across a small town full of some colorful characters. One of them happens to be a Valkyrie. But he deems him to be an imposter, and then it kind of goes from there, which I won't go any further than this. But apparently, yeah. Use your imagination of where that might end up going. Next up.
All right, so we get to a little bit of controversy. So if you didn't hear about this yet, you're probably blessed. Probably very fortunate to not have heard about this yet. Yeah. We did not talk about this book last week because we probably looked at it and we're like, yeah. That was pretty much our the extent of our reactions here. Talking about what if Miles Morales became Thor number 4. This came out last week. So as I said, it wasn't it definitely wasn't a but more like a
hiya.
Yes. Well said. Well said.
I'm so glad that is exactly how we need to put it. Because writer Yehudi Mercado is apologizing for his recent Miles Morales Thor story, which received considerable backlash after its publication by Marvel Comics. The What If story, showcasing a new Thor variant, trended on Twitter and Reddit this week, with many criticizing the inauthentic creative choices deemed insulting towards both the Black and Afro-Latinx culture and the usual Spider-Man's own past. So, the stories in this What If series that have imagined Miles becoming heroes other than Spider-Man, people reading this have gotten versions of Miles as Wolverine, Hulk, and Captain America, and now Thor. But this particular version was pretty tough to handle. Many pointed out that the book and its version of Asgard played up harmful stereotypes while offering an inauthentic take on the Black experience. Among the issues pointed out included him rapping to open the issue, shoes hanging on power lines in Asgard, a graffiti-covered Mjolnir, an outdated catchphrase referencing MC Hammer, and Morales referring to his realm as his hood. On his Twitter account, writer Yehudi Mercado, who is half Jewish and half Mexican, from Texas, not exactly from Brooklyn, he offered an apology for his portrayal of the character. He wrote that he acknowledges the criticism and backlash and understands that inauthenticity hurts, mentioning his Jewish and Mexican background. Yeah, big whoop, dude. You're from Texas, son. Otto admits he failed to make his story authentic and appreciates hearing from Black and Puerto Rican comic peers. How about from some Brooklyn people, yo? The writer of the Thor variant of Miles Morales promised to do better and said he would donate the entire amount Marvel paid him to the Brooklyn Book Bodega, an organization that works with kids to build literacy in New York City. I mean, seriously, yo.
Representing BK to the fullest.
You are not.
I was about to say if folks did not if Agent 7 didn't make that blatantly clear, he is a Brooklynite. So yes.
Born and raised, son. So what bothers me is, right, like I get it. it's tough that we don't have enough Black writers or enough Latinx writers to portray Miles's experience in Brooklyn. I get that. His regular writer, Saladin Ahmed, who is of, I believe, some kind of Muslim descent, but he lived in Brooklyn for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So he brought some authenticity to to Miles' stories.
Right.
I know that he moved back to Detroit, I think just prior to the pandemic. But my understanding is that Saladin Ahmed went to Brooklyn College, one of the CUNY schools here, and got a degree.
Mm-hmm.
So he lived Brooklyn. He lived the section of Brooklyn where he set the New Horizon School. Is that what it's called?
Brooklyn Visions.
Brooklyn Vision School.
Yeah.
So he lived that, he gave reference to the artist to draw that particular section of Brooklyn, which is not far from my home. So I would rather get that level of authenticity, at least, right? But to give this, I mean, how did this get past editorial? That's the thing that bothers me.
That was the part that I was actually just about to bring up. Because, yes, assistant editor, somebody up the chain should have hit on this. Now, granted, I don't think there aren't that many Black editors there or anywhere or that many anywhere in the comics field, honestly.
Right.
But regardless, somebody should have hit up on that in the past. By the way, Marvel, DC, or anybody, if you need an editor, you can hire me. I don't have much experience, but I'm just saying I could do right. I could hook you up.
I can do it. I can do it part-time. I can represent the Brooklyn.
I could do it full-time because I'm looking for a job anyway. So
yeah, but my point being, I understand that we would much rather have Black writers writing Black character stories.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if at the very least you can do, is portray some like some of the realist things that are happening in Brooklyn right now, and talking to young adults, young kids who are living in Brooklyn right now. That is the reference that you need.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
That's what you need.
And even if it's not Brooklyn centric, just in general, we could stand to use that in the comics field. Just more oversight would be nice. More, more people of color writing, arting. Well, we do have art. Art's kind of sort of covered, but writing, art, editors especially would be great in situations like this to keep things like this from happening, or hopefully keeping things like this from her, because there are probably some people who will probably be like, yeah, this is it, but it's not it.
Right. So it's edited by Tom Groneman, because of course now I'm going to call him out. Tom Groneman was the editor on this book. Nick Lowe, who's normally a good editor, was the supervising editor. So he probably only took a quick pass at this, but still.
Mm.
And of course, Sapolsky, who has his own issues, is the editor in chief.
Right. Well, Lowe is over the Spider-Man corner, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So that it's kind of under his purview, but nevertheless, like I said, kind of could have put some more eyes on that.
Yeah, Groneman, seriously, man, you're making me groan, son.
Moving right along. Boy, Agent 70 these puns tonight. What's going on?
I'm just, I really I remember skimming this being like, nope, not worth it. But then I started to see some of the feedback and the pushback. I was like, oh my God, it really has hit the mainstream. So,
right.
I'm glad that we have a story to talk about it this week, because that was just shameful.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, love a good what if story, love a good, switching up the character a little bit, but that's just a bridge a little too far.
Yep.
The way that happened. Next up, though, new Conan and Barbarian comics publisher revealed after Marvel. So I think we have talked about in the past that the Conan license that Marvel had, and hasn't had for that long, by the way, or hasn't re-had, I should guess to say, because they've had it before. Regardless, they've only had it for a couple of years. Now they're losing it again. Apparently, the license is now going to tighten in May 2023. I thought it was this year, but I might have been confusing that with the Transformers license, because I was wondering why Savage Avengers just started when they were losing the license. So they still have and I think I talked about this when we talked about whenever Savage Avengers. Regardless, May 2023 is when Titan Publishing is going to take over the reins of the Conan license. Titan is a UK-based publisher. We have talked to some about some of their books. Wait, is Gun Honey is Titan, isn't it?
I forget.
Yeah, I know they had the James Bond license for a while. They may still have it. I can't remember if they do or not. But they've had some stuff we've talked about in the past. Sometimes we get books from them, sometimes we don't. So, and none of us were reading Conan, with the exception of the Savage Adventure stuff anyway. So it kind of doesn't matter. Regardless, that's where Conan is going to next.
Yes, Gun Honey is from Titan Comics.
Haha. And there's a
Good
call.
Call.
There's a Gun Honey story actually coming up later. Later in the news. Next up.
So, in Marvel Star Wars 25, Charles Soule and Will Sliney revisit the rise of Kylo Ren for a story evidently set immediately after The Last Jedi. So, with the release of the upcoming Star Wars 25, number 25, writer Charles Soule will have penned exactly 100 total comic book issues set within the galaxy far, far away. To mark the occasion, it will be a giant-sized issue that sees Soule reteam with some of his most notable collaborators to revisit his previous Star Wars stories, including his and artist Will Sliney's The Rise of Kylo Ren. Okay.
Sure.
I mean, if that's what you're into, okay.
I'm slightly surprised they're doing it in the main book as opposed to another miniseries, but I guess they have their reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So, sure. Chances are I'll be reading it. Star Wars officially kicks off the war between the Sith and Crimson Dawn, which I believe is this week. Oops. Y'all didn't see that. But anyway. Let's see, spoilers for Star Wars Crimson Reign, which is an ongoing thing. Star Wars Crimson Reign number 5 to be specific, and I believe that is the one that is from this week, which I did not get a chance to read. It was either this week or last week. I'm just confirming it. No, that's this week. So yeah, basically, Palpatine finds out about Crimson Dawn, which basically Kira did not want to do because anonymity was kind of the thing she's been banking on with her group. Vader kind of already knew about them, and I guess I have a strange feeling that's probably how Palpatine finds out, even though Vader's kind of been doing his own thing in relation to the Crimson Dawn. So yeah, I guess it's all going to come to a head after this week. I guess I have to read it and check out what's going on with that. Next up.
A new comic book series from IDW Publishing will warp the valiant Jean-Luc Picard back in the captain's chair of the USS Stargazer to fill in the gap between seasons 2 and 3 of the Star Trek Picard series. Let's see. So this is co-written by Mike Johnson and Picard co-creator Kirsten Bayer with illustrations by artist Angel Hernandez. This is a 3-issue title that serves as a bridge. Let's see here. It's $3.99. When is it coming out? Scrolling. Lands on August 24th. Thank you.
Yeah. And of course, we'll probably be talking about it because one of us will be reading that. Is that not? Never mind, doesn't matter. Some interesting news. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1980s cartoon returns for a new IDW series. And I saw this title and thought, oh, is this like the G.I. Joe Saturday morning, Real American Heroes Saturday Morning Adventures that we just got? Kinda. Because, per Newsarama, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures, which is the name of the book, comes from the creative team of Eric Burnham and Tim Laddie, I guess, which I believe is the writer of that G.I. Joe Real American Heroes Saturday Morning Adventures, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, and it also confirms that here. It's set to launch this September. The series tells awesomely absurd, quote-unquote, stories such as one of General Krang's stalwart stone soldiers abandoning their person in pursuit of hair metal superstardom, according to this article. Illustrated in the styles of 1980s TMNT animated series. Burnham previously penned, like I said, the G.I. Joe Real American Hero Saturday Morning Adventures, which, hey, you should really check out. It's pretty good. Another 4-issue series similarly based on the original G.I. Joe cartoon, like I said. So, yeah, this is, let's see, main cover art by Laddie, who is also providing a variant cover, and of course, Kevin Easton, co-creator, also is doing variant covers with Tony Gregori. So, cool. We'll definitely check that out. September 2022, like I said. Next up.
Next up, after making it worse, Amazon has plans to fix Comixology, and it still has a long way to go. So Amazon incorporated Comixology into the Kindle app and kind of broke both in the process. It has outlined a number of plans to fix things. IO9 noted that a thread was posted to the Comixology account on Twitter yesterday. Let's see here. Right, so it says that there will be a beta version of the web reading experience that will bring back the double-page spread, and there will be a new section that shows all the weekly comic releases in alphabetical order by title. So it's not clear why the merging of the two apps resulted in the loss of so many necessary features for reading comics, but it is deeply frustrating as Comixology is currently the only service available if you want to purchase digital comics piecemeal from a wide variety of publishers, including DC Comics. So there's no explicit timeline on when all these changes will come to the service. Some changes will be in the, quote, coming weeks, while Comixology says it will let you know when other features launch. You can read the whole thread online and then come back and talk about when they plan to fix Goodreads, another Amazon-owned service that's just gotten worse the longer Amazon has owned it.
Wow, and that's been a while. They've had Goodreads for a good minute. Good gracious. Yeah, they didn't have to do anything. I don't understand why they put a Comixology under the umbrella. They basically just made it a Amazon site. They could have left it like it on and it'd have been fine. Makes no sense whatsoever. Anyway, I dare say whoo because of this next story, and I apologize if this person is problematic, but Ric Flair, James Hake talk launching new codename Ric Flair comic. So wait, Ric Flair is actually getting back into the ring?
Woo!
Wow, he's like 70 or something. Anyway, apparently he's actually stepping back into the ring on July 31st and back in Nashville. But he's going to be taking his first steps into the world of comic books. Of course, this is Scout Comics joint. Written by Scout Comics president James Hake with art from Rafael Lorejo. Codename Ric Flair is an upcoming series that poses a question. What if when Flair recovered from his 1975 plane crash, he not only became the Nature Boy, he also started working as a secret agent for the U.S. government. Flair, Hake, and project manager Kelly Brewster sat down with comicbook.com recently to discuss. Did Tim write this? No, he did not. But the rest goes on into an article talking with folks about that, and also some history, I guess, with Ric Flair. So if you're a wrestling fan, hey, there you go. There's another wrestling book out there for you if you are so inclined. Next.
All right, in The Exiled, Wesley Snipes is returning to comic books with a crowdfunding campaign. Let's see here. Snipes is listed as one of the creators of the project alongside Keith Aram and Adam Lawson, with Lawson serving as the writer. Together, the trio worked with artist Gabriel Esquivo Santos and colorist Valentina Bianconi on the project. Okay. The lead character, Detective Niles Roach Washington, is based on Snipes, and the actor tells us the character might be his Blade killer. He better be a Blade killer. I don't know if he'll take Blade completely out, but at least they'll be good buddies. Okay.
And always bet on black.
Right.
Gun Honey, Blood for Blood #2 reveals a collection of tantalizing covers. So yeah, I think we talked about another set of covers for issue 1. This is a similar article for issue 2 of the next volume of Gun Honey. According to this article, the series has become a breakout hit for Titan Comics, with it ranking as 2021's #1 best-selling non-premiere comic. A TV series is now in development by Peter Sagan of Haven and Dead Zone fame, and Malaysia-based Double Vision, The Bridge, whatever that is. The crime series has been praised by comic book noir masters, including Ed Brubaker, which that's kind of high praise,
Right.
Max Allan Collins, and Dwayne Straczynski. And with Brubaker calling it the finest kind of pulp noir, which again is high praise coming from Ed Brubaker.
Right.
So, man, what happened to Velvet? I wish he would come back with that. Brubaker. Velvet was pretty good. I don't know if anybody read that book, but Velvet was pretty good. It's basically like, what if James Bond's Moneypenny was the best secret agent they had? Was the most badass secret agent they had? It was pretty great. Anywho, oh, Haven, the TV show. I remember that show. Ooh. Okay. But yeah, anyway, Gun Honey, Blood for Blood #2 of 4 is going to release September 21st, 2021. No other news on when the actual show is coming, but this is first hearing about that though. That there's going to be a show. Next up.
Did you really just say September 21st, 2021?
I did do that. I probably did. 2022. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
This might have been the first time I've done that, actually, by the way, this year. So,
I know we're halfway through the year. Okay.
Yeah, the fact that it took this long is amazing. So, clap. Anyway, I
was gonna say that's it. That's the last story I have. You have more?
No, that's not it. That was a wiki article I had up that I forgot to go. But yeah, that is it for the stories. We are going to go into the last ad read, actually.
You know, our last ad read is going to be the quickest one we have when it's late. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through cspn.us. Do it today.
All right, folks. Whoop. That's it for another episode of this Comic Book Chronicles. Thank you, each and every one of you all, for coming out. My name is Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at NewsNerd on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram. PC_Dirt on Twitter. Pop Culture Net on Twitter. PopCultureNetwork.com as all his umbrella sites therein. Tim, DOGG98 on Twitter. The Kliq Nation on Twitter. That's the KLIQNATION, all one word. TheKliqNation.com. But also, most importantly, comicbook.com, where he's over there writing his face off. You can find this here podcast on the Coast of the Podcast Network, that's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast personal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coast Lizard Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. You can find us recording every Thursday night, 9:30-ish p.m. On the YouTube channel of The Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/TheKliqNation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles. Yeah, we'll be back next week, folks. We got some Miss Marvel. Obi-Wan's gone, but we still got some episodes of Miss Marvel still on deck. So we will definitely be back with that before we go into Movie Protocol the week after.
Exactly. Like I may drop. I'll probably finish the 3rd season of The Umbrella Academy by that point. So I may just drop a few nuggets on that. Roddykat is not up on that show at all, so I will just speak in the broadest strokes.
Sure. Unless some way, shape, or form I get caught up on that, which doesn't seem likely at this point. But
unlikely, but yeah.
Hey, never underestimate my binge powers. Actually, you very much overestimate it. People know I'm notoriously not a binge watcher, so
Right.
even the stuff I'm going through right now, I've been taking my time with. Anyway, all of that's neither here nor there. This, folks, has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
My time is up. Peace out to Brooklyn.
Good evening, Rick.
Would you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your